Are live, and it is currently 10:36 on a Tuesday night on the East Coast, and we are watching the New York Knicks and Cleveland Cavaliers. The Knicks are currently on a 18-1 run, as you had the audacity to say. It looks like the Cleveland Cavaliers are going to win this game. I don't know if all of you have those people that you talk to about certain games and they text you one thing and the exact opposite thing happens, but this is exactly what's happening right now because my brother texts me at the beginning of this game. It's 38-27. He's like, "Oh, Knicks aren't messing around." And then I'm like, "You know what? Sam Merrill isn't messing around either." And then James Harden pulls up. He hits a big three. Evan Mobley looks like he's getting frisky. And you're like, "Oh, Cavs are up 20 with 7 minutes to go. Looks like they're going to win this game." I'm like, "I don't know. I've seen bigger comebacks in less time than that, especially watching those conference finals where you had like the Blazers, where it seemed like they had a 20-point lead with 5 minutes left in every single game. And then Steph Curry just went out there, mogged his brother, Dame, CJ, and then just came back every single time.
See, the thing is I know that I'm jinxing it when I'm saying it. So technically, I'm speaking it into existence when I say it. So, like the Knicks, they're going to come back and win this game in the next 2 minutes and 30 seconds. And then we're going to see the Knicks come back from what was 20 points down. So, we've witnessed history already. I've already said it into existence. 97-93. Watch Jalen Brunson make a big play. But they had a 22-point lead. That evaporated. The Knicks were up 11 at one point. They blew that. But NBA playoffs with the conference finals now, we had maybe the greatest East Western Conference game one of all time. I don't know what it's in comparison to, like what other game could have been better, but double overtime. Wemby hits a massive three in overtime, has 44-22. If I'm not mistaken for that stat line.
Yeah, no, Wemby had a huge night that game, and it was a historic night for the Spurs as well because it wasn't just Wemby, and Wembanyama played great. He had one of the best playoff games of all time when it comes to his defense, but Wembanyama is only the second player since Wilt Chamberlain in 1960 to record 40 points and 20 plus rebounds in a conference finals debut. And then this was the first 40-point and 20 rebound game in a conference final since Charles Barkley in 1993. And as far as his rebounds, his 24 rebounds are the second most by a Spur in playoff history, only trailing Tim Duncan with 25 rebounds in 2002. And I believe this is also the youngest lineup ever for San Antonio to start in the finals. And the craziest thing with Wembanyama is you talk about all of that with 40 points and 20 rebounds, but the defining game is him pulling up from 30 feet out. And then I was out of my seat as soon as he hit that game because the Thunder were coming back. I'm like, okay, looks like a young team. Thunder kept it close. SGA is going to do what he does, be the MVP, and come back at the end of the game. And then Wembanyama rips one. And it's not like he took any three. That was the first three he took all game. And then just watching this whole game, this is like the first time I'm like, this game has aura. I feel euphoric, and it made me hype for sports. I was at the gym at 5:30 in the morning. It was benching, and the highlights were on. I'm like, yeah, let's go. Let's put on more weight on the bar. Like this game like has me fired up, and this is like one of the first basketball games of this playoffs to really do that for me. Like you had some great moments last year, but this game had aura. And notice how nobody was talking about the refs either. Like you didn't notice the refs in this game. I felt like the flopping wasn't a huge issue either, and we had some historic moments in this one.
Yeah, this is one of those games. You have it every once in a while. We see it in the NFL occasionally. We see it in baseball occasionally. But an NBA game like this, that's an instant classic right away. As soon as Wembanyama hit that three-pointer, you knew this was going to be an all-time great. And I think what also makes this game an instant classic, because we've already kind of established that the Spurs and Thunder are going to be the next great NBA rivalry. Obviously, the Thunder have already won. Spurs are knocking on the door here. But you knew, like, watching game one, that this is going to be a series that we talk about for the next decade. Similar to, like, when Mahomes and Allen met for the first time in the playoffs. in that great 13-second game that we witnessed live together. But this is just a moment in history that we get to witness. We saw the KD Warriors go up head to head to each other, Thunder and Warriors then. That was big. We've seen the Lakers and Spurs go head to head back in the 2000s, Pistons and Bulls of the 80s, but this is a sign of the 2020s. What I think is going to define the 2020s is going to be Wemby versus SGA as they go down to potentially as all-time great players.
Yeah, it's gonna be Wemby versus SGA, and it's also like the fact that you still have Jokic in that conference, and they could definitely rebuild that team with the Nuggets, and then you have Anthony Edwards in a Timberwolves team where if they can get him a legitimate second star that fits with him, there's like an actual balance of power shaping up in the conference finals right now because you look at who's in the conference finals right now, it's a lot of players from the new era. Carl Anthony Towns and SGA, I'd kind of say, are like the middle child, like kind of J. Cole, where they're not a part of like the LeBron KD era, and they're not necessarily a part of like the newer era with Cade Cunningham, but you have them kind of in their prime right now. Legitimate team with the Knicks, really good starting five. You have the Celtics who are going to be there, and now the Pistons are establishing themselves. If they can get a number two guy as a scorer, they're going to be a team there for a long time. So you're actually starting to see what the future is going to look like. And last night was the NBA at its peak. Like it had everything that you
Absolutely.
wanted. Like it had parity, and then like one of the biggest things, like two in this game, where a lot of people are like, "Oh well, Wemby had to have a historic game for the Spurs to win, so I don't think that it's going to be an issue for the Thunder going forward." I'm like, okay, but is Alex Caruso going to average 32 points? Because the Thunder's bench outscored the Spurs reserves 50-16 in this game, which is
That's
insane.
insane. And a lot of that's Caruso. Caruso, what do they call? I think they called him on the broadcast White Mamba or Bald Mamba, was it?
They were calling him
Something like that.
Chaos. Mr. Chaos is what Reggie Miller was calling him.
I'm here for that. But also, if we want to shout out Wembenyama, we also had Dylan Harper, who played a great game. Did have a lot of turnovers from Stephen Castle, but Dylan Harper, 24, 11, and 6, which I believe he's only the third player to have a debut with those stat lines. He also had 7 steals in that game as well. So Dylan Harper played out of his mind. Victor Wembanyama played out of his mind. And even Stephen Castle, he did struggle a little bit with the turnovers, but he did also have a double-double, had 11 assists. So Spurs were ready to play. And SGA was a little bit off from the field, but overall, I think he'll bounce back. What I really hope for this series is that it's a long 7-game series that goes to game 7. We have a classic series because this is shaping up to be in that conversation with the 2016 Western Conference Finals, with the Thunder being down or the Warriors being down 3-1 coming back. The 2002 Western Conference Finals is in contention, but after game 1, like this could potentially go down as the greatest Western Conference Finals matchup that we've seen the last decade, if not the last 25 years.
Yeah, because you have an MVP candidate in his prime, and then you also have the youngest starting lineup ever in a conference championship. The only difference is you have Victor Wembanyama here, and with this team, there's some more historic things that happened. You had the young double double trio. So this is the first time in NBA history where 3 teammates aged 22 or younger with Wembanyama, Harper, and Stephon Castle recorded a double double in the same game. And then you mentioned Dylan Harper. Dylan Harper joined Magic Johnson as the only rookie to record 2010 5-5 in a playoff game. Magic Johnson did that all the way back in 1980, and we haven't had a rookie do that since. Like, think about like all of the other great players that we've had. We've had like LeBron come in, KD, Jason Tatum, who got to the conference championship, and then he also set a Spurs record with 7 steals, and that is a record he passed DeJounte Murray. So that is also another big step because I felt like in this game, it looked like Dylan Harper was playing free safety, where he was just like Earl Thomas or Cam Chancellor. He was just attacking the ball any chance he got. Anytime the Thunder like threw a pass inside, he would almost just pop out of nowhere, get an interception, and he was physical where he was like taking the ball all the way down in transition and finishing. And I think the most impressive part for Dylan Harper to me was, did you see that play where he D'd up Chet and then blocked him? Like,
Yeah.
this is what we're doing, and this is all without De'Aaron Fox. And I thought that the Spurs actually struggled at the end of the game to get into their offense, because I thought they started out like the first overtime pretty good. They started out the fourth quarter pretty good, but like the last couple minutes in the fourth quarter, the reason why they stopped is they Stephon Castle just had trouble getting the ball across half court, and then Wemby had a tough time turning the corner against Caruso, and then in overtime they kind of had some of the same issues until the second overtime Wemby just broke through and then started dominating. He has the huge block and the huge dunk, but like I did think like there was a void that De'Aaron Fox left, which is just the ball handler, and they started Julian Champagnie, who's basically their version of like, he's kind of like the Black Sam Hauser, just a little bit more athletic, a little bit of a better performer in the playoffs. But he comes off the bench. He's a 4-year player. This guy's undrafted for the team. So it's like the way they built this team. And then you also have Carter Bryant come off the bench. He's another one of those young guys who they drafted him this year. He comes in, hits a big three, plays well on defense. So it's like, this is honestly the toughest matchup that the Thunder will probably ever face. And it was interesting that Wemby and Chet really didn't face each other that much, where like Chet wasn't really guarding Wemby. They were going with either Jalen Williams or Caruso.
Yeah. And it felt like, especially come the end of the game, Caruso, he matched up pretty well with Wemby for the most part. But come overtime, Wemby just took over, had a huge game, pretty much scored every basket in the double overtime there as well. But I think the Spurs offer the Thunder the most challenge because they're physical. They play tough defense. They take the ball. They strip the ball from each other. They block a lot of shots. And I think they ultimately frustrate the Thunder. SGA, he shot 7 of 23. Didn't really get to the free throw line like he normally does. Still was able to facilitate. I wouldn't say SGA had a necessarily bad game, but by SGA standards, I definitely think we'll see a better game in game 2 from him. But as far as physicality, as far as making big shots when it matters, blocking shots, getting steals, both of these teams were giving each other issues. And I'm excited to see when De'Aaron Fox returns because I do think that that's going to give the Spurs an edge. But, I mean, right now, all I'm praying for is that the Thunder win tomorrow and then it gets to a Game 7. Like, that's all I want. I just want Game 7 Spurs-Thunder because this will go down as, like I already mentioned before, an iconic, great Western Conference Finals, and looks like so far in the East, that's going to be another. We had another overtime game that just happened just now. That's about to conclude, but just great conference finals. Best of what you could have asked for. I feel like last year we got to ride this tale of the Indiana Pacers and what they were able to do with Tyrese Halliburton and some of the underdog stories that they had, but we don't really have like two Titans going head to head like we've seen in years past. This is the first time we get to really truly see it, where we're seeing the two best players go head to head in the conference finals again. I'm excited for it.
Yeah, and it's in their prime too, where SGA wins the back-to-back MVP. We haven't seen a team go back-to-back in the NBA Finals since the Golden State Warriors, and everyone's like, if there's a team that's going to do it, it's probably going to be the Oklahoma City Thunder. But the scariest thing with the San Antonio Spurs is it seems like they're learning on the fly right now because, you know, you talk about Wemby had to have one of the best games of all time in the playoffs for them to win, but like Stephon Castle also turned the ball over a lot. He struggled to get it over half court. Dylan Harper was kind of a mess at in certain clutch moments as well. So it's like there's still a lot of room for this team to improve, and they're going to be even better next year because I think Stephon Castle and Dylan Harper are also going to be better next year. And they really have a matchup for each team because if Hartenstein is in, he's basically making the offense harder if Wembanyama is in there, because then Wemby can just hang on him, protect the rim, which is pretty much what he was doing the entire time. And they didn't score until Caruso came into the game, and Caruso had their first, I believe, 7 points of the game. And SGA, like, they played him really well where he was trying to get fouled, but like SGA didn't seem like he was his normal like masturbating self in this game. So I thought like just with the way that the refs were doing it, like I thought this was like a fairly rough game. And
Yeah.
with the NBA, the difference between playing the Lakers and playing the Phoenix Suns versus playing the San Antonio Spurs is the NBA wants Wemby to be the future of the NBA. So when Lou Dort tries to play football with him, it's not going to work, and they're actually going to call fouls every time. And then I feel like you saw Lou Dort and Alex Caruso get frustrated because they're doing things they normally do against teams that the refs in the NBA don't expect, except, oh, you're actually playing the Spurs and Wembanyama, and the NBA wouldn't mind if they get to the NBA Finals. So you're actually going to get a fair whistle in this series, and they're actually going to see who the best team. And I think if the refs favored anyone, it was actually the Spurs, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like at this point, when I watched that game yesterday, what I saw was the best player on the floor was Wembanyama. Whether it was on the defensive side of the ball, blocking a bunch of shots, which honestly for him, he only blocked 3 shots, which on his standards, I feel like you can expect 5 to 6 blocks a game, is what it feels like at this point for him. But I mean, when I was watching that game, it felt like he could get a bucket anytime he needed to. He made a big three, obviously. We talked about that. Big on the defensive side of the ball. Like at this point, when I watched that game yesterday, as great as SGA can be, Victor Wembanyama was by far the best player on the court.
Yeah, he was
So
the best. Yeah, go ahead.
no, that
Sorry.
was it. Yeah. No, that was it.
He was the best player on the court, and then also like the intensity of Mitch Johnson. Like, you want to talk about a great successor? This is like if the Patriots just went ahead and hired Mike Vrabel right away. It's like Mitch Johnson on that sideline, like you saw the intensity of him and just the command that he has over the team, and especially since this team is so young, he has a real opportunity to actually go out there and put his imprint on the team. And I felt like that was going to be a question mark for a lot of people about the San Antonio Spurs team, but defensively, this guy's a tactician and he's a mastermind, especially like they were moving back and forth between zone. They were switching up the defense. So I felt like also the San Antonio Spurs just may have a coaching advantage over the Thunder because like Mark Daigneault's great. You have SGA and Jalen Williams, but I do think like Jalen Williams' hamstring not being fully healthy, it looked like he aggravated a little bit. They showed him at halftime, looked like he was struggling a little bit, and then Chet kind of is just a little bit too passive. Where if he's gonna be passive and not aggressive in this game, it's not gonna be enough to beat the Spurs team. And then this is also the first time since 1998 that two teams with 62 plus wins in the regular season have faced off in a playoff
You said
series.
since you said 1998.
Since 98, two 62 plus win teams facing each other.
Jesus Christ. I'm assuming that's the Jazz and Bulls, maybe, or is this conference finals?
No, this is just playoff series in general.
So it's got to have been the 90s, 1998 finals, because that's insane. Yeah, that's absurd. That stat doesn't even seem real, to be honest. But that's wild. I think, like I mentioned, the series, I'm excited. We didn't really see too much. I think we'll see Steven Castle start to rebound next game as well, shoot a little bit better from the field. Dylan Harper, if he can continue what he's done in game one into the rest of the series, he'll be effective for him. And then is it certain whether or not De'Aaron Fox is going to return in this series, or any idea if he'll return?
Yeah, he has an ankle sprain, so they're targeting next game, and if not next game, he'll be back in San Antonio. And this is a game they're playing with a little bit of house money, and the Thunder, swept, so the Thunder hadn't played in like 8 or 9 days. So the Thunder have had a lot of time off, and this is also like the Thunder's first playoff loss as well, which is like the other big deal because they went ahead and they were sweeping every single team, and the Spurs finished the season without when Wemby was starting. They had until the Timberwolves series, they had only lost 3 games since February when Wemby was starting, and they took the season series with the Thunder as well too. So it's like they can match up with this team without having to foul them every single time. And then you start to see those role players that were dominating the Lakers can't really dominate it against this team, can you? You can't push around Stephon Castle. You can't push around Dylan Harper. You can't push around Keldon Johnson, Julian Champagny, and like these are undrafted guys, and it's crazy that the Spurs have hit on every single draft pick. I mean, Carter Bryant, quality minutes in this game. Stephon Castle last year, he's looking like the best rookie from that draft. Dylan Harper this year. I mean, you want to talk about Con Kneppel, like in the regular season this year, sure, but like would Con Kneppel be doing this in the playoffs, like with Dylan Harper? Like it might be an
He
argument where
didn't.
like maybe Con Kneppel is a better regular season player, but I think when it comes to playoff time, Dylan Harper might be a better overall player all time than Con Kneppel because he's a better defender. And then he's more athletic than him, better finisher at the rim, and so it's really gonna change the conversation between him and Cooper Flag.
Yeah, of course. And then like the Spurs, I feel like if we remember the Spurs dynasty from the 2000s, this is exactly what they did. If we remember correctly, Tony Parker, Manu Ginobili, these are guys that weren't drafted particularly high. Really, the only lottery pick that they had was Tim Duncan. He was the root of it. And then outside of that, you had the Manu Ginobilis of the world, the Tiago Splitters of the world, the Tony Parkers of the world, some of the guys that they brought in that were rejects from other teams. And it just feels like the Spurs are back to what we saw back in the 2000s. And this sort of renaissance is kind of what we missed. I feel like the NBA post Spurs, when they were going through the rebuild, that's kind of what the NBA is missing. This is a team that's been a perpetual winner really since the 90s, pretty much since their inception when they had David Robinson. Um, and now they're back, and they're back to finding players like the Julian Champagnes of the world, the Dylan Harpers, which I know he was the 4th overall pick, but just finding these underrated guys, guys that are overlooked from the NBA, but are playing valuable minutes when it matters.
Yeah, and then also like you have the youngest team in the playoffs, but you also bring in veterans to be on your bench. Like you have Luke Cornett, Bismack Biyombo, and then who's the first person to celebrate with Victor Wembanyama? Like the first place you see, the first person you see excited for this team is Kelly Olynyk on that team. Like how good is it to see Kelly Olynyk in a Spurs uniform in that huddle when they're locking off like hype in this game? Like people thought it was George Kittle on the bench, but no, that's Kelly Olynyk.
Yeah, but I'm excited. Next game's on tomorrow, right?
When's
I
tomorrow?
believe.
Yeah, and they're all on
Yeah.
Peacock, which I love.
Yeah, which is unlike this fucking Knicks and Cavs game, which is a good game to transition to because I didn't jinx the Knicks this time around. They look like they're about to win in overtime. Jalen Brunson looks like he went off in overtime as well. 38 points. Huge game for him, but this is another game. Went to overtime. Looks like the Cavs did not show up in overtime based on what I see here. Donovan Mitchell plays a good game. James Harden facilitates. Evan Mobley makes some big key blocks against the Knicks as well. This is another series that I think is going to go 6 or 7 games. And honestly, we had talked about it off air, and I think you kind of echoed it the most, but I think the Cavs honestly might be able to beat the Knicks. And the Knicks were the hottest team in the East. They look like they were the shoe-ins, but this Cavs team's big. They're physical. Donovan Mitchell, I think, kind of cancels out what Jalen Brunson can do. So then it's really what can Max Strus do? Can James Harden show up each and every game? And then what can Evan Mobley do? And that's kind of going to be the key decider if the Cavs can upset the Knicks.
Yeah, and I think that is the main problem with this series because you just went 7 games with a Pistons team where they don't really have a second scorer, and that's pretty much the where the story starts in the matchup with the Knicks because I looked at the way the Pistons beat the Magic. I'm like, all right, so you're getting your butt kicked and dominated when Franz Wagner was on the court. As soon as Wagner goes off, like clearly when you had a series that was so marginally close where the Magic weren't really blowing out the Pistons, Wagner was the one making all the clutch plays, defending Cade, and then as soon as he gets hurt, you move on. I'm like, that's why I picked Cleveland to win the series because I still didn't believe that they had a second scorer. And like, people are talking about how great Tobias Harris was as the Pistons' second scorer, and my biggest problem with the Detroit Pistons is Tobias Harris was their second scorer because we've seen this guy so many times. Like he flies under the radar But he was with the Philadelphia 76ers, and people talk about how Harden didn't show up in that Philadelphia 76ers series time and time again. But also, Tobias Harris is someone who disappears, and he was overachieving. He went from averaging 13 points in the regular season to averaging 19 points in the playoffs. So when you have a jump that big, like he was bound to not show up at the end of the game. And the fact that Donovan Mitchell outscored Cade Cunningham and Tobias Harris and Jalen Duren by himself in game seven, I'm like, all right, what are we doing here? Especially with Jalen Duren, how shaky he was versus the Magic. It's crazy to me that that was a guy playing for $200 million, and that's the performance we got from him. Like, really? He would have been better off if he didn't play in the playoffs at all, because I think some team will pay for him, but he went from this is going to be the next premier big man in the league to is he the next DeAndre Ayton? Is he a bigger, stronger DeAndre Ayton with more athleticism? Like, because that's kind of what it looked like to me, especially when you just look at their body language. Very similar. Do I think Jalen Duren's better overall? Yeah, I think he's bigger, stronger, and more athletic. But it showed to me like the Pistons just didn't have a consistent enough second man that could put the Cavs away. I do think, though, with the Knicks, Donovan Mitchell and Harden have been too inconsistent at the end of the game, and between Towns and Brunson, they're just going to be more consistent through the series. So I do think that the Knicks are going to end up winning this one at 6.
Yeah, and I think like especially what we saw in overtime in this game, basically we just had Jalen Brunson take over. He was either the main scorer or the facilitator on pretty much every basket in overtime. They had a big fourth quarter resurgence. The Cavs kind of blew this game ultimately. They had a huge lead, kind of faltered in the fourth quarter, had a 22-point lead, should have won this game, honestly. Donovan Mitchell plays a great game, but again, like the Knicks, they have scorers everywhere, whether it's Anunoby, whether it's Cat, whether it's Brunson, whether it's Josh Hart if he wants to make a few threes for them. Like, and they also, I think, have a better bench than what the Cavs offer. Yeah, Dennis Schroeder and Max Strus is a nice story. Can Sam Merrill get hot? Sure. But I think these guys that are coming off the bench for the Knicks, these are guys that have been in the postseason consistently. The Jordan Clarksons of the world. Landry Shamet's been around as well for a million different teams. So I just think the Knicks have a lot more depth. And the Cavs, again, it's just like you mentioned, inconsistency. James Harden, you don't know whether he's going to drop 30 or he's going to drop 10 any given game and shoot poorly from the field. James Harden also had 6 turnovers in this game as well, which definitely didn't help. But I agree. I think the Knicks do win this series. I think they're more talented. And I think the Cavs just kind of blew game one ultimately.
Yeah, they blew game one, and there are certain players on the Cleveland Cavaliers that I just want to grab my TV and scream at it, because when you have Evan Mobley at his height with his length posting up on Jordan Clarkson, and Jordan Clarkson is able to push him on his spot, and he's just not spinning off of you and dunking the ball every single time, and how inconsistent Evan Mobley is. Like, Evan Mobley should easily be talent wise at least a top 15 player in the NBA. And then you have Donovan Mitchell and James Harden together. You're not expecting too much from Harden. Like, on a given night, he'll probably give you like 18 with 9 assists, 7 rebounds, but he's also probably going to have 6 turnovers. So like that's been a huge problem for him. But like when you have someone like Evan Mobley and Jarrett Allen, they're so inconsistent, they just get pushed around way too often, especially for their size. And Jarrett Allen gets pushed off his spot. He's missing wide open layups. And then him and Mobley just have an issue with the free throws at the end of the day. And Karl Anthony Towns is able to space the floor, which they really didn't face up against the Detroit Pistons. The Pistons were either playing Paul Reed, Jalen Duren, or Isaiah Stewart. And none of those guys could make Jarrett Allen go out of the paint to have to guard them. But the Knicks are going to go 5 wide, so Jalen Brunson's going to have a lot more space to work. So the fact that James Harden and Donovan Mitchell are in your backcourt, and Donovan Mitchell's an okay defender, but he's better at getting steals with activity, but you can definitely beat him off the dribble. So, like, I feel like that opens up a bigger hole for you. But I think Cleveland's going to win 2 games just because they shoot well at home. And then you have a game where Strus gets like 20. Sam Merrill is getting it. He's been like excellent for you in the playoffs, but like they just don't have, even against Detroit, I never saw a moment where I thought like Cleveland had it, where I thought it was a guarantee that they were going to just be clutch, make the right play every time. I was watching that series. I'm like, honestly, I don't know. And I was really impressed with Cade, especially like he's the only scorer on that team and he carried them that far. Like he didn't really show up in game 7, but he was impressive.
Yeah, I think when I was watching the Cavs and Pistons series, it felt to me like which one of these teams are going to lose to the Knicks in the next round, ultimately. The Cavs are one of those teams that we see. I can always compare them to the 2010 Raptors, and I think it's a fair comparison for them, where they're going to win a bunch of games. I mean, they won 50 games this regular season, and they're going to consistently be good. They were the 1 seed last year, but again, it's like, do they have an it factor? Do they have a killer on their team? Donovan Mitchell, maybe he's a killer, but James Harden at his age is not at this point. Evan Mobley, he's not a killer at this point. Nobody in their starting five, I can really say so. And then their bench is just kind of underwhelming for me. So, like, watching that Pistons and Cavs series, it's like, I guess it's cool whoever wins this series is in the conference finals. But I think the Knicks, especially with how they handled the Sixers so easily following their upset against the Celtics, and then they just kind of handled the Hawks outside of those 2 fluky games. Like, the Knicks have been the hottest team in the East. They kind of have to win this year because they're going to have to make some big changes in the offseason. So it just feels like this is the Knicks team. This Knicks team has a lot more aura. Jalen Brunson, he's been clutch time and time again. He was clutch in game 1 as well. So when you talk about a team that has that it factor, we know that the Thunder and Spurs have the it factor. Thunder have already proven it. And then the Knicks, they just feel like they have that extra edge as well. So I think the Knicks are going to make it back to the finals again.
Yeah, and we've had 9 rookie head coaches bring their team to the finals. So the first year with their team. And this is just like coaches where it's their first time coaching. And it was Tyronn Lue, 2016, won the finals. Steve Kerr, 2015, won the finals. John Kudla with the Minneapolis Lakers in 1949. He made the finals. So, yeah, this is a history show. We're going back to 1949. John Kudla, what's up? Minneapolis Lakers. That's insane. And then we have Buddy Jeanette, 1948, with the Baltimore Bullets. Eddie Gottlieb, is that Doug Gottlieb's dad? With the Philadelphia Warriors in 1947. And then coaches who lost in the finals: Ime Udoka, 2022, Paul Westhead, 1980, George Sineski, 1956, and then Harold Olson, 1947.
Isn't it crazy to think the Lakers were once in Minneapolis? Like, that's the thing for me that I forget about. Like, you know how bad when you go back to the 50s and you see that the Lakers were in Minneapolis at one point, and if they had never moved, it would have been this. Would they have been the big of a brand that they are now? Definitely not. But just like weird to think about. And then the fucking Baltimore Bullets. Like, what are we doing? Go deep back. It's like, okay, very nice. Plumbers are playing at that point.
Yeah. But all of that to say is the Knicks do have a new head coach this year, and I do think them not having Tom Thibodeau makes a difference. And I felt like the main reason why we were critical of the Knicks' chances to go far in the playoffs was Tom Thibodeau. Where now they're playing in this game where they just had 9 days off. They swept the Philadelphia 76ers, ran Joel Embiid out of New York, ran him out of his home stadium in Philadelphia, where you had Fat Joe pulling up there. You had Tracy Morgan, Timothy Chalamet, the usual suspects in Philadelphia. You ran them out, and then they're like, wait a minute. We have 9 days of rest where Tom Thibodeau had everyone injured by this point, and every single game was like, I want Jalen Brunson to play 46 minutes. Josh Hart is going to play the whole game. Where now Josh Hart just plays his rotation, has a lot of effort here. So the Knicks aren't like gassed, where I feel like that's probably why they started out game 1 slow. And I think that the Cavs can push it 6. But if you told me the Knicks swept the Cavs, would I be surprised? I'm like, no, not really. Because they've been historic in the playoffs so far. It's like when they've been beating teams, it's been a historic belt whipping.
Yeah. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, in their 8 playoff wins, they've blown them out by 10 points or more. And I want to say every win. And it continues in this game as well because they beat them 115 to 104 in overtime. But, I mean, we're talking about the Hawks game. That was like a 50-point blowout as well, one of the biggest playoff blowouts of all time. The Sixers series, that was taken care of pretty easily. So I think this Knicks team's a team of destiny. Do I think they beat the Spurs or the Thunder? I'm not sure. I guess it kind of depends on how much the Thunder and Spurs kill each other in this conference finals. But if anybody in the East is going to win, it's going to be the Knicks.
I think it's going to be the Knicks, and the Knicks and Cavs have played each other before with relatively similar teams. If anything, the Knicks had the worst team at the time because Julius Randle was there instead of Karl Anthony Towns, but they just bullied Jarrett Allen and Evan Mobley. And the reason why the Cavs aren't going to make the finals is it's going to be because of those two players. And if Evan Mobley has a career series, I think that the Cavs can get to the finals. And if he continues that, they have a chance. But if Evan Mobley and Jarrett Allen are just going to get pushed around, they're not able to cover on threes, and Jalen Brunson's able to drive, I don't really think the Cavs have a chance in this one. And the Knicks, I do think they match up well with the Thunder and the Spurs. They beat the Spurs for the NBA Cup. And then I think just size wise, like OG Anunoby, Josh Hart, Mikal Bridges, Karl Anthony Towns, you have the size to match up for San Antonio. So I don't think that
Yeah.
would be an issue. And I think just with their, um, I guess, connectivity and their chemistry, because they've been together a year and in the playoffs going to the conference championships like 2 years in a row now, I do think they could beat the Spurs or the Thunder.
Yeah, I think it's possible, especially when I think about the Spurs in Madison Square Garden, and I see everybody there is 21 years or younger. Madison Square Garden's probably the most iconic NBA basketball stadium that they have. I can see the Spurs, maybe not Wembanyama, but maybe some of the other guys, maybe not shrinking, but having a lesser game there, shooting from the field a little bit more poorly. So I think the Knicks in that case are going to be good there. Jalen Brunson, if he can continue on his historic scoring run that we've seen pretty much his entire time in New York in the postseason, he's elevated his game. Karl Anthony Towns has had a great postseason so far, and he played a good game against the Cavs in this game as well. So if they can continue that, I think of the other two teams that they would face, I think they have the best chance to beat the Spurs at this point.
Yeah, I would say so. I think they match up well with the Thunder too, especially with having Mitchell Robinson on that team. Um, and I do think it's Karl Anthony Towns that has been the difference. And then you kind of just need either OG or Bridges to step up. But they've gotten good contributions. I think the only place where they would really hurt or it would be noticeable in those series would be the bench. But I feel like Mitchell Robinson's been physical. He's been imposing where it would go 7 games. I mean, the Pacers took the Thunder 7 games last year. And I don't think Jalen Williams is quite the same player coming back with that hamstring injury.
Yeah, I would agree. But I'm excited to see how this Western Conference and Eastern Conference playoffs play out. And we both agree the Knicks probably beat the Cavs, but Spurs and Thunder is going to be legendary.
And then
Any
I
other
do
news
have
outside
some,
of this?
yeah, I have
I was
some
going to say,
historic news coming out of this for Harden.
okay.
So, just real quickly, James Harden cracked the top 10 all time for playoff scoring this year. He passed Steph Curry to move into 10th all time. He currently sits with 4,176 points, and he's now chasing Jerry West. He only needs about a little less than 300 points to move himself into 9th all time for playoff scoring. And then he also moved into 6th in playoff assists. He passed Rondo and Tony Parker in this playoff run. And then he is 4th all time in playoff 3-pointers behind Klay Thompson, Steph Curry, and LeBron James. And then he moved to 15th all time in playoff appearances as far as playoff games. And then he is currently, after this season, 2nd all time in 3-pointers made, but also 3rd all time in turnovers.
Right. Yeah, I feel like a lot of the time you and I are James Harden supporters for the most part. When I think about his eras, like obviously he made the finals with the Thunder, with the essentially the baby Thunder at the time, but he was the guy that was kind of like the Josh Allen of the NBA, where he kept running into the super team. We see obviously Josh Allen keeps running into the Chiefs. He can't beat them, but I don't think that the 2017 finals, 2016 finals, when they kept meeting up against them in the Western Conference Finals, that all the blame was on him. He didn't have a great game seven in that series, but when the entire team misses 27 consecutive threes, is it just James Harden's fault? I don't know. But he's proven to be an all-time great scorer. He's been a great facilitator. I feel like he's definitely embraced the sidekick role nowadays, especially with the Cavs and Donovan Mitchell. I think he's okay being that de facto 2 or 3 even in some cases. But you talk about his legacy. I mean, even without a ring, James Harden should go down as an all-time great scorer. He should be a first ballot Hall of Famer. And I don't think it matters whether he gets a ring or not, because I don't think the legacy of his is going to change too much.
What do you think about that stat? I mean, he passed Steph Curry for points all time, and it looks like if he has another playoff run, he could pass Jerry West and potentially be ninth all time. And he's sixth all time in playoff assists. So he's like top 10 in two categories there. I believe LeBron's going to be like top 10 in rebounds, points, and assists as well. But this is a guy who's only been to the finals one time. And we are talking about it off air, how he's shown his longevity, where James Harden is really the only guy from that LeBron, KD, Tim Duncan, Kobe Bryant to this NBA that's still playing and playing meaningful basketball in the conference championship. And, he gave the Cavs some really good games in game two. He had some good games with the Philadelphia 76ers, was good with the Clippers, but I just think it's interesting that he's kind of the face still there, especially with his longevity, because he played meaningful playoff minutes before Steph Curry, and he's playing more meaningful playoff minutes after Steph Curry.
Yeah, I think that's crazy, especially the fact, like, I mean, James Harden, he was drafted in 2009 at this point. We're talking 15, 20, almost 20 years in the league at this point, and he's still the de facto scorer for the most part. He's been that number 2 for him. He's been really well, but you have all these different eras, whether it's the Thunder making those playoff runs there, the Rockets, that kind of defines the 2010s, that rivalry with the Warriors. And then I think a lot of the time people are going to stain his legacy because of what happened in Brooklyn, but I don't think that's all on him either. But I think his resurgence in the Cavs is a good storyline. It's interesting to see, like, you would think that after Kevin Durant joined the Rockets that we might have seen him there with LeBron and what he was able to do with the Lakers, despite the fact that there was no Luka or Austin Reeves for most of it. You thought maybe the Lakers could make it there. But it's interesting, despite all of that, that he's the one that's there in the Eastern Conference Finals in 2026 when everyone was kind of writing him off after what happened in Brooklyn. So credits to him, especially a guy that is going to go down as an all-time great point guard.
I think he's going to go down as the best player to never win a ring. I honestly think he has that resume, like on lockdown.
I mean, right now. I mean, he's better than Allen Iverson. I would take him over AI any day.
His MVP
Charles
years?
Barkley. Yeah, I mean, he's averaging 40 over 18, 19 games. I mean, he had the greatest scoring run of all time. Yes, he ran into the Warriors, but LeBron couldn't beat the Warriors. When he had Kevin Love and Kyrie Irving, he had Chris Paul, Eric Bledsoe. He had some nice players on that team. But that Rockets team, him carrying them to the Western Conference Finals looking back, he was the reason why they made it there. And he was consistently knocking on the door. If the Warriors didn't exist, or maybe they didn't add Kevin Durant as well, then I think we see potentially James Harden with a ring at some point. But I agree. I think he is going to go down as the greatest player to win a ring at this point, outside of maybe Charles Barkley. He's the only one that can really be in contention there.
James Harden did this in a cave with a box of scraps, where his number 2 option was Eric Gordon and Trevor Ariza and Clint Capella. Like, okay, well, we have Steph Curry, Kevin Durant, Draymond Green, Klay Thompson, Andre Iguodala, Sean Livingston, Leandro Barbosa, Harrison Barnes. The list goes on.
The list goes on.
Yeah. Like,
it's
what's he
unfair.
supposed to do?
Yeah,
He
and I
never
mean
had
like,
Kyrie in his
for-
prime. He never had KD in his prime. He never had like
Kevin
when
Love.
he had old Dwight Howard. He never had Kevin Love and Kyrie. He never had Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh at the same time. He never had Klay Thompson and Draymond Green and Andre Iguodala. He had Mark D'Antoni as his head coach the whole time. And to start his time in Houston, his coach was Kevin McHale,
Oh God, I
who
forgot about that
hasn't
arc.
coached since. Kevin McHale hasn't coached since. I'm like, all right. And then his crime was, he played during his prime was during the time where we had arguably the best team in NBA history, if not the Chicago Bulls. But people put the Warriors with Kevin Durant there, like, all right, that's his crime.
And then it's honestly the real crime of James Harden is the fact that when he doesn't want to be somewhere, he quiet quits. Which honestly, if we're talking about it, I said this off air. He is the Charlie Sheen of the NBA. And that, by the way, for me, as you know, I'm a big 2.5 Men fan. That is a great compliment. Because, famously, Charlie Sheen had the #1 show on cable back in the 2010s. And he just said, you know what? Fuck my boss. My boss is an asshole. Hey, boss, go fuck yourself. He gets fired, still makes a shit ton of money, goes and has another show, is successful there, and now he's obviously an icon there. James Harden, after the Rockets got rid of Chris Paul and they got rid of pretty much the rest of that team, he's like, you know what? I'm just going to be fat, and then you can trade me to Brooklyn. He goes to Brooklyn. He plays like 12 games with Kyrie and Kevin Durant. Both of them leave. He's like, you know what? I'm going to go and be fat, trade me to the Clippers. Goes to the Clippers,
The
or I think maybe the
Sixers.
Sixers are there before them.
And he
Goes to the
played good with
Sixers,
the Sixers. He balled out.
plays great with the Sixers, almost beats the Celtics, who ended up winning the championship that year, if I'm not mistaken. And then he's like, all right, I'm tired of this fat, always injured, made of bone, made of paper mache Joel Embiid. Trade me to the Clippers so I can circumvent the cap with Kawhi Leonard. Has a complete disaster of a time with the Clippers. Not necessarily him playing poorly, but the Clippers just being the Clippers. He's like, you know what? Let me be fat and go to Cleveland. So he goes to Cleveland, and now here he is with 4 more wins to make the NBA Finals. So honestly, if you want to talk about a legend, if you want to remove the whole sportsmanship, the whole, be there for your team mentality, and just talk about what you would be if you were in the NBA, this isn't just you. This is talking about all of the sports fans. You would do exactly what James Harden did. You would quietly quit. You would maybe say, like, you know what? Trade me to, instead of working at, say, I don't know, Walmart, I want to go to Target instead. You would do the same.
Yeah, for sure. Like
And he's a legend.
and he's making millions of dollars to do it. So he's like,
And you
sees
talked
those
about
checks,
all,
the Adidas deals.
and you talk about all these great stats, like, oh, he's top 10 in points in playoff games. He's top 5 in assists at this point, tops in threes. But here's the list of NBA players who have had their jersey retired at a strip club. James Harden, and that's it. That's the list. He got his jersey retired at a strip club. The first
week
2
in
weeks that he was
Houston.
in Houston. Like, how does that not cement you as an icon? As already the guy that averaged 40 that one year as well. Should have been a multi-time MVP, won an MVP already. Like, no, James Harden's the GOAT. He's the legend. He's going to be in the rafters forever. He's an icon.
Yeah, I kind of just like how nonchalant he is too, where it's like the James Harden hate just kind of feels forced, where it's like a narrative real quick, like, oh my god, I can't believe James Harden, like, and then people watch him the next year and you're like, I can't hate this guy, like, he plays like so well in some moments and he'll turn back the clock once in a while, where he's just when he was on his run, he was as fun as Steph to watch some nights. He's like, he had nights where it's like back-to-back 50-point triple doubles in Houston. I'm like, okay.
2K
And then
stats.
the other candidates that come up for like best player to never win a ring, I looked it up, and it's Karl Malone, and he's third all time in career points. Charles
Rapist.
Barkley, Elgin Baylor, and Allen Iverson. And honestly, I would take him over probably everyone on that list. Maybe not Karl Malone. You could argue there, but like,
Well, let's look. AI, he's better than AI. Look at the stats. It proves it. Elgin Baylor played against Plummer, so he's eliminated. Charles Barkley has a real argument. I'm not going to deny that. But Karl Malone, impregnated a 13-year-old girl. So he is eliminated from that conversation as well. So James Harden
Is
didn't
that
impregnate
real?
a 13-year-old woman. That's a real thing. Look it
Why
up.
is he walking around society right now? Is he not in jail?
Nope.
What?
He impregnated a 13-year-old girl. Look it up. And honestly, when you look that up, look up Patrick Beverley's reaction to that because he had the same reaction that you did. It's like,
Is that
so
real?
yeah,
Was his reaction?
he didn't believe it, but it's real. He impregnated a 13-year-old girl. He shouldn't even be in the NBA all-time conversation at this point. He's a predator. And I personally don't like predators. Hot take, predators suck. There, I said it.
Malone was 20 at the time.
It's just 13. I don't know. 13 is, you got to
He
pick her
did
up from
not
middle school.
acknowledge or meet Demetrius until the boy was 17 years old. When they first met, Malone reportedly told him it was too late to be his father. His father. Oh my God, this is like that episode of Ted when they're like messing with Clive.
Yeah.
They
Yeah, they're
hire the
just,
guy to be his dad, and he just like shows up. He's like, "I'm sorry, you're too old right now, so it's too late for me to be your father." It says the two since have partially reconciled with reports of 2018. They now speak regularly. But
oh, there
why
you go.
was he not in jail after that?
The 90s were
That's
a weird
crazy.
time.
I guess.
Who would you rather have? Would you rather have a guy whose jersey's retired at a strip club or a guy that impregnated a 13-year-old girl? I know my answer.
Yeah, I don't. Wow, I didn't. I knew like that something was up. Like there's a joke about Carl Malone, but I didn't ever care enough to let myself in on the joke. But okay.
And the people who are like, "Oh, but it's like a 7-year age difference." I'm like, "Okay, 13. 13 years old. He picked them up from 8th grade at that point. Like that's disgusting. Even if you were a senior in high school and you did that, that's disgusting. But he did it as a 20-year-old NBA basketball player, or maybe at the time he was in college, but it doesn't matter. It's disgusting.
Uh, I asked Gemini why he's not in jail. Because I was curious. I'm like, if you are 20 and impregnate a 13-year-old, why are you not in jail? I honestly, you should get the death penalty for that. But Karl Malone was never in prison because the family of Gloria Bell chose not to press charges in 1983. According to several reports, the family was concerned that if he went to prison, he wouldn't be able to provide support once he began his NBA career. So they essentially wanted him to make. They knew he was going to the NBA and he was going to make NBA money, and they chose to take that money instead of pressing charges on him.
That's disgusting. Rancid. The 80s were a weird time. Dare I say it.
The age of consent was 17 and Malone was 20. Prosecutors typically do not proceed with such cases if the victim's family is unwilling to testify or participate. Consequently, because no criminal prosecution was initiated at the time, the statute of limitations for those crimes has long since expired. Okay.
Gross.
Ew.
Disgusting. So they're basically
Ew.
like, it's like as bad as it is that our 8th grader is pregnant. This guy's gonna make it to the NBA. That's essentially what they said. Like, yeah, it's gonna suck to grow, have a 5-year-old child when they graduate, but you know what? NBA money. That's what they said.
It had the Patrick
That's so
Beverly
gross.
story pop up.
Yeah, because that happened recently. They're like, oh yeah, Karl Malone is a predator. He's like, no, not Karl Malone. It's like, no, yeah, Karl Malone.
Oh my god. Do they have the quote in here? Roan told Pat Bev that Malone was 20 years old, still in the state of Louisiana. Ready to go. Beverly went silent before taking a huge sigh, saying, "Whoa, I didn't." Threw me the fuck off. Is this true and documented? I didn't know this at all.
Yeah, Pat Bev was shocked. He was stunned.
Media
Rightfully so,
personality,
by the way.
Patrick Beverly, too. So,
That is what he is, media personality. But that is the NBA as of now. Karl Malone, you
shocking.
suck.
Incredible
Yeah.
content. Incredible NBA content the first 54 minutes here.
Yeah. And we haven't even covered the NFL schedule either. Is there any NBA shit to cover otherwise outside of the big NFL release? Because we're going to cover the primetime games Sunday night, Monday night, Thursday night, international as well. Any other NBA stuff to cover?
Yeah, no, we pretty much covered everything right now, all the big news there. So, and say we hop right into the NFL primetime schedule. So, how this is going to work, we're just going to go through all the schedules in the international schedule, and then we're going to grade Monday night, Sunday night, and Thursday night football on who we think has the best primetime games for the slate. So, really excited to hear these.
Okay. So I'm going to start first with because there's not going to be a Thursday night game until week 2 technically, even though there's a Thursday game. We're going to start because there's a Wednesday game that's broadcasted by the Sunday night crew. So let's start with Sunday night, and technically there's a Wednesday game in there for some reason. But the season begins with Patriots Seahawks on Wednesday, the 9th of September. So Super Bowl rematch to start on a Wednesday. How do you feel about the Wednesday game?
I kind of like it. I don't want them to implement like a regular Wednesday game, but the fact that we get to start football a little bit earlier than we have Wednesday, Thursday, and then we're gonna have probably a Friday game if they do another Brazil game, and then we get 5 days of NFL football. Like I'm never gonna say no to that. So I kind of like it. And then the teams who just competed in the Super Bowl will have a chance to get some extra rest. So it's also you're starting out the season, you get a little bit of extra rest. So I see it as a win-win. We get more football, players get more rest.
Yeah, I like it. And also, the first Thursday night game, the reason why it's not Thursday night football is because it's going to be in Australia. So when we cover Thursday night, we're also going to cover international. So we have Wednesday, week 1. That's going to be Patriots Seahawks, and then Sunday night football, week 1 is going to be at New York. We get to see the brand new Arvell Reese, New York Giants, Cam Scatterboo back. Jackson Dart is back, and they face the Cowboys.
The Jets
And then
face the Cowboys.
the
That's
Giants
Sunday
do.
night football, or the Giants.
No,
do?
Giants Cowboys. Yeah, with John Harbaugh, of course. And do you want me to just kind of tackle through these quickly and then kind of give your reactions there? We'll just rip them through.
Yeah, we can go like one game at a time and then give our overall thoughts. I think that's a good game overall.
Yeah, I mean, it's Eastern rivalry. I think the Giants are going to be a lot better. And it's a divisional matchup. I think that's a good start for Monday Night Football, or Sunday Night Football, I mean. And then week 2, it's Colts and Chiefs.
Ew,
Um, Womp
disgusting.
womp. L.
No,
Terrible game.
Daniel Jones on. No, no, this
So,
sucks.
so far, 1 for 2.
The
And then,
Colts on prime time. Like,
yeah, disgusting. And then week 3, Sunday Night Football is Rams at Broncos. For me, that's another L, as far as I'm concerned. Both teams are going to be good. Don't get me wrong. Probably still a good game, but Broncos Rams. There's not even a rivalry there. Bo Nix is coming off injury. Like, I think for Sunday Night Football, that's kind of underwhelming.
I like it actually. I like it a lot, and it's the Rams going to Denver. Um, so I think that's like a good story, and I think Sunday Night Football should kind of be a spectacle. And you have two teams who are realistically vying for a chance to get to the Super Bowl, and they were two of the best teams in the league last year. They finished top 4, and arguably both teams have gotten better. So I think it's going to be a fun matchup if Bo Nix is healthy.
Well, week 4, it's going to get worse because it's the Lions restoring to prime time. They go to Carolina to face the Panthers in week 4.
That just strikes me as a very ugly game where I feel like both teams are going to make a lot of mistakes. But I think, yeah, that to me, this just feels like a ugly 17-14, like 21-24 game where there's probably 5 turnovers. So I wouldn't necessarily say this is going to be pretty football. This is probably one that should get lost in the 1 o'clock slate.
I would agree. I think for prime time, like I don't see the appeal there. Usually prime time there's some sort of spectacle, which we're going to see in week 5 and week 6, but I just feel like the first 4 weeks, Chiefs and Colts and Lions and Panthers, honestly, even Broncos and Rams. It's like I don't like how it starts so far for the first month. And then week 5, this makes sense. It's going to be Baltimore at Atlanta. Um, okay, maybe. No, Kevin Stefanski. You get to see Kevin Stefanski on primetime. Tua on primetime. Yeah, I don't like that game either. That's not a very good game. At first, I thought it's the Giants, so that's my mistake. Week 6, we have Cowboys going to Green Bay. So we have 2 Sunday night games for the Cowboys to start week 1 and week 6. But Micah Parsons, Packers, Cowboys. Last game, they had a tie. So maybe there's a second tie again. But that's a good matchup.
Yeah, no, I do think that'll be a good matchup as well.
All right. And then we have the revenge game for Kenneth Walker, Kansas City at Seattle, week 7, October 25th. I think that's a good game. I chalk that up as a W.
Yeah, no, prime time in Seattle. Like Seattle's always a spectacle on Sunday Night Football. So yeah, that seems like another solid matchup.
All right. And then week 8, we have Eagles going to the Commanders. There's a lot of Commander primetime games that I've noticed. If Jaden Daniels is healthy, this will be a great game. Division rivalry, it makes sense.
Yeah, this one makes sense. It's easy enough. Could we have found a better game? Probably. Maybe this is one that should have been on Thursday Night Football instead.
I feel like this is a game we're going to bitch about in week 8 when we go to review it, but I think it makes sense scheduling wise why they put it there. And then week 9, it's Tampa Bay at Chicago. Anytime Chicago's on primetime, I'm here for it. And you have Baker Mayfield, so this one I'm excited for. I just hope Tampa, so far they've kind of regressed the last 2 years. I just hope that that's not continuing because that could be an ugly game potentially for Tampa Bay by then.
Yeah, I think the good news is Baker was probably dealing with injuries last year, and this is a little bit earlier in the system. So I do think like part of the reason why the Bucks got worse at the end of the season was Baker Mayfield dealing with injuries. And you know Ben Johnson's always going to keep you in the game, and I think the Bucks can take advantage of that. So this seems like a fun matchup, but it does have blowout potential for the Bears to just make it a runaway.
Yeah, I would agree. And then week 10, we got an AFC North matchup. We got Aaron Rodgers versus Joe Burrow. Obviously, Joe Burrow, Aaron Rodgers quarterback matchup. I like that there in division. Last year, we saw the pretty much the Unk Bowl between Joe Flacco and Aaron Rodgers, and that was electric. So if it's anything like that game and Joe Burrow's healthy by then as well, then that's going to be a fun game to watch.
Even if it's Joe Flacco, it'll be a fun game to watch.
Yeah. And then week 11, this is after COD releases, but Minnesota at San Francisco. This is a game that, and this is also in Mexico, by the way. So this is a Mexico City game. Um, I think this is a game that could be really good, but the Vikings are kind of a variable this year. Honestly, I think the 49ers are as well. So this is a game that I think might end up being a poor game, but it's Mexico City, and that gives me hope.
Yeah, I think this should be a good game. Especially the 49ers went out there, attacked some receivers in the draft. I think their offense should be better. The question is going to be the defense without Robert Sala again, but I didn't think Minnesota generally does play well on primetime games for Sunday Night Football.
Yeah, I would agree. And then this next game is actually one of the Thanksgiving games, so I'll skip it and we'll cover that in just a moment. We'll cover that when we talk about Thursday night games. But week 12, it's Patriots at Chargers for week 12.
Eh, this doesn't feel like it's going to be a fun game to watch. This is going to be a low scoring, high turnover game. Yeah, I don't love it. I don't think Patriots and Chargers is really prime time Sunday Night Football material. I think it's more,
I would agree, and also
let's push it to Monday night.
I also think like Patriots kind of own the Chargers the last ever. So I just especially with how good the Patriots defense is. Justin Herbert on primetime, I just think that's going to be a recipe for disaster. But tickets as low as $100 if you're interested in going to LA and seeing the Patriots and Chargers, which isn't bad. And then week 13, December 6th, it is Houston versus Pittsburgh.
Ew.
Yeah,
Woof.
that's gross.
No.
That's a gross game.
Come on.
I don't support that at all.
Davis Mills versus Mason Rudolph. Like, really? Is that what we're gonna get in that game?
It's just going to be like 13-10, gross game. Two defenses that are fairly good, two offenses that are underwhelming historically. Like, and this is like right around the time where it's like the NFL starts to become sometimes a bit of a drag, especially with some of these teams that are out of the playoff mix at that point. These two teams might be still in the mix at that time, but just a gross Sunday night game. Sunday night games are supposed to be the big ticket game of the week, and we've been waiting all night for Sunday night, right? No, not it.
That
And
might be
then,
Aaron Rodgers' last game of his career, to be honest. On Sunday Night Football versus Houston, Danielle Hunter, Will Anderson Jr. sandwich. That might do it. TJ Watt ended a
oh,
career on Sunday Night Football with Cam Newton. Cam Newton wasn't the same after that, so stranger things have happened.
yeah, I've seen Stranger Things. Um, and then week 14, this gets a lot better. We got Packers hoisting the Buffalo Bills.
Very interesting
I think
matchup.
that's
I think that'll be fun. I think Jordan Love usually
that.
shows up in these moments, so that'll be a good game.
Yeah, I'd agree. That's a good matchup there. And
Honestly,
then
the
week
best so
15,
far.
yeah, I would agree. I'm looking back at some of the other ones, like Dallas and New York is good. Um, Dallas and Green Bay is good. But I think this is probably the most exciting one. This one should be fireworks, especially because I feel like the Packers' defense is kind of overrated, and then Buffalo doesn't have a defense. So this will be high scoring, I think. And then week 15, it's Detroit versus Minnesota. This I actually think could be a very fun game. Minnesota and Detroit, they usually play competitive. Depends on where Kyler is at that time, but if Kyler is playing potentially comeback player of the year type level, then that could be a really fun game.
Yeah, I think at this point in the season, the entire NFC North might still be up in the air for all four of those teams to make the playoffs. So I think there's going to be a lot to play for in this one.
For sure. And then week 16, it's Jacksonville at Dallas. Another Dallas Sunday night football game.
Oh yeah, did you see Trevor's hair?
Yeah.
Trevor cut off his hair, and it looks. I'm just gonna say
Arguably
he looked
worse.
a lot better before. And especially, it's not even that he just has short hair. It looks like he went to Supercuts, and I'm like, did you take a deal with Supercuts? Because I get if you want to change it up, go short hair, get rid of the locks, kind of put that era behind you. Like I get it, but I just don't think the new haircut he got really fits his style. It makes him look a lot more Mormon than he probably is. So are, are we gonna get a better Trevor? Is short hair Trevor gonna be better? I don't know. Is he gonna not turn the ball over at the end of playoff games now that he doesn't have long hair? I don't know. Is he gonna make stupid mistakes now that he has short hair still? Probably, but for me, it was just
Is he
a
gonna
massive aura loss. I showed my girlfriend that picture. She was like, "Ooh, buddy, that's a tough
He
one."
looks like he's getting shipped to boarding school. That's what it looks like. He's got boarding school hair at this point. And Trevor Lawrence, like, I feel like he's already lost his aura. The fact that he trips himself into the end zone against the Chiefs. He had this big moment he could have had against the Bills to beat them in the playoffs, and he just throws an interception immediately. Like, he's already had that deduction there, but now he looks like he's about to go to Proctor Academy or go to like some prep school in upstate New York. Like, he just looks stupid at this point. And I mean, the hair, I was never a huge fan of the hair, but at least there was some sort of like identity, some sort of branding for him. And now he just looks like a dork at this point. There it is.
Yeah, and
And
that might be coming from two people. Some other people might classify as dorks, but doesn't mean I can't call him one.
yeah, but you know what? He looks like a nerd. Sorry. Nerds can call out nerds. There, I said it. Uh, but I mean, matchup wise, like I don't like this matchup. I don't like this at all. Too many Cowboys games, as far as I'm
It just
concerned.
feels gross when
It's
I
just
hear
too many.
Jags at Cowboys. I'm like, ugh.
I don't like it. And then week 17, the last Sunday night football game of the year is Eagles at 49ers, which could have playoff implications. So I think that's a good one.
Yeah, they could be playing for a playoff game. So, yeah, I think that's okay. Right now, I'm feeling honestly a C plus on these Sunday night football games. I don't if you want to like read through all of them again, but like for me, I only heard like two matchups that I really was like super excited for. Like the one that stands out to me is still Buffalo and Green Bay. It's like we get a lot of Cowboys on here, like Patriots Chargers. Like we don't even have Patriots Bills on Sunday night football. What the hell?
Yeah.
Like that was an iconic Sunday night football game. Like Thursday night football, like the Patriots and Bills should play each other like either on Monday night, Thursday night, or Sunday night, but they should all be on primetime games. And like they really didn't, I feel like, utilize their matchups that well for Sunday night football. Like these games are pretty good, but I hear like Steelers and Texans, woof. Cowboys Giants
Yeah.
should be pretty good, but like I don't know. Like Lions, Vikings, that'll also be another good one. But overall, there's not too many spectacles outside of like that. And then Broncos Rams is probably up there for me in my top three.
Yeah. Let me just run through the list again. So this is a Wednesday game, Patriots Seahawks to start the season. And then Sunday night games moving forward is Dallas at New York. Okay. Indianapolis at Kansas City. Rams at Broncos. Lions at Panthers. Ravens at Falcons. Cowboys at Green Bay. That should be good. Kansas City at Seattle. Okay. Philadelphia at Commanders. We'll see. Tampa at Chicago. Pittsburgh at Cincinnati. Minnesota at San Francisco in Mexico City. KC versus, oh, actually, that's Thursday night football. Never mind. New England at LA. Chargers, kind of an underwhelming matchup there. Houston at Pittsburgh. Buffalo at Green Bay. Detroit at Minnesota. Jacksonville at Dallas. And then Philly at San Francisco. I give it a C. I feel like the last couple of years, Sunday Night Football has been the best as far as primetime games historically. And I feel like this year it's pretty underwhelming. For the most part, I mean, Dallas and New York's cool. You want to throw Rams and Broncos there, sure. Um, Dallas at Green Bay is going to be great, I think. Kansas City at Seattle, maybe. Um, and then realistically, it's like Bills and Packers. That's probably the best matchup on Sunday Night Football at this point.
Yeah, Bills Packers, and like hearing back, I might go like B minus with this to be generous, but I definitely feel like they could have done better with Sunday Night Football. There's like five matchups I'm really excited for, and the rest of them I'm like, this is kind of a gamble, especially like Colts, Chiefs. Who, like, what other games are that week where you felt the need to put Daniel Jones on Sunday Night Football? Like, no one's trying to see that.
Now I feel like I need to look at week 2 real quick because there's Minnesota at Chicago that week, Pittsburgh at New England that week as well. And then we also have, I guess those are probably the other matchups that I would pencil in there potentially. Maybe New Orleans at Baltimore, depending on how you feel about New Orleans. But there's other matchups that I think are going to be better than that. But I think it's like Thursday night's going to be the better one in that week that I see here. But that's Sunday night, and I give it a C. I think it's pretty mid. I'm not overly enthusiastic about what I see there, so I think I'm going to keep this at my grade at a C. But that being said, shall we cover Monday night or Sunday night next?
Let's do Thursday night.
All right. So we start Thursday night. Technically, Thursday night begins in Mexico, or actually, I'm sorry, Australia. Week 1, it's going to be San Francisco at the Rams, but it's going to be in Australia. So they have some of their international games on Thursday night. So that's a great start. I'm happy with that. Great matchup, obviously. So good start so far.
Yeah, divisional rivalry. The 49ers got the Rams last year on Thursday Night Football, so no problem with that.
Yeah. So then we go week 2, Detroit at the new Highmark Stadium for Buffalo. So Detroit versus Buffalo.
Not much
Elite.
defense going to be played in that game. I think that's going to be a really high scoring game. And I think that's
That
going to
might
be
be,
the game that people realize, like, oh, Sean McDermott's gone. Who's coaching the defense now exactly? It's like Sean McDermott was good on defense, and I think that's where they're going to miss him the most, where you did need to replace him as your head coach, but at the same time, you just don't know what that defense is going to look like without him either.
yeah, I think that could go down as one of the most exciting games of the year, just based on the offense for both sides of the ball. I feel like we could see a potential where both teams score 40 points or more. So that's going to be great. And it's the first game at the new Buffalo Bills Stadium. So a lot of intrigue there. I'm excited for that matchup.
Jameer Gibbs, James Cook, Dan Campbell. We want to own their house. We're going to be the first team to go in there. We're going to go kick their ass. Like, you're going to have Dan Campbell coming in hot. Then the Lions can be the first team to win in the Buffalo Bills Stadium and cement yourself in history. I mean, the speech is there for Dan Campbell. It writes itself.
Yeah, I love it. And then week 3, we got Atlanta at Green Bay. Could be interesting. Tua versus Jordan Love. It's a decent matchup. It's okay. Depends on how
Tua in
good Kevin
September.
Stefanski. Yeah, it'll be warm. Green Bay. So I see the appeal. I don't hate that matchup. Should be interesting. And then week 4, Thursday night, we have Pittsburgh at Cleveland. So we get to see Shador on primetime. We get primetime on primetime.
It could be Deshaun, too. Don't forget
Oh,
Deshaun
yeah.
Watson. It could be Deshaun Watson because they're still paying him for, I believe, after this season, they
Two
have
more
two
years.
more years left on his deal.
Yeah,
So
worst
it's
contract of all
probably
time.
going to be Deshaun Watson playing, at least to start the season. But yeah, we're going to have, wow. That's a game. At least it's a divisional rivalry. I think if Cleveland's defense is good, they went out there, drafted two good receivers, so I can talk myself into this being a good game.
Yeah, it's barely a rivalry, but it's divisional rivalry. I mean,
Is
hard to
this
call
in
it a
Pittsburgh?
rivalry. It's in Cleveland.
Okay, so they have a shot. They've been pretty good against Pittsburgh in Cleveland.
Yeah, it's hard to say it's a rivalry historically, but Deshaun Watson, maybe he turns back into Houston Deshaun massage parlor Watson. We'll see, but
Wait, no.
oh man. But week 5, Tampa at Dallas in Jerry World.
These are some bangers.
Yeah, Thursday night looks way better, and there's more. There's more matchups that are going to look really good come later. So, yeah, Thursday night we got
And Amazon Prime
Tampa.
has them all.
Yeah, Amazon owns everything. So, yeah, Thursday night we got Tampa at Dallas, and then week 6 we have Seattle at Denver, which I think is a spicy matchup because honestly, Denver probably should have made the Super Bowl last year. If we're talking logistically, two teams got the rematch of the Super Bowl several years ago, but two teams that I think match up really well. So I like that matchup a lot too. That should be exciting.
The maybe Denver should have won the Super Bowl matchup. I mean, another really good matchup. These are all really good. I can even talk myself into Pittsburgh and Cleveland being fun.
Me too. And then wait till you hear the next game. Thursday night, week 7, New England Patriots versus the Chicago Bears. Heat. That's going to be a
Oh,
great game. That's going to
who's
be
the
a
best
great
QB?
game. Who is the best of that draft?
Is that in New
Yeah,
England or Chicago?
it's in Chicago, which honestly might make it better, to be honest. Soldier
Yeah,
Field.
either one would be iconic, but is also a potential Super Bowl matchup. And then if we see Drake May with help going to Chicago versus Caleb Williamson, kind of a duel for who's the best guy in that draft, and then we have Jaden Daniels this year, that is a fun matchup.
Absolutely. And then week 8, we got Carolina at Green Bay. So another Green Bay primetime game.
Depends on if Carolina loses the previous week, but yeah.
Could be frisky. Week 9, we have Jacksonville at Baltimore, which is good matchup, decent. Two playoff teams, kind of.
I don't want to see the Jaguars on prime time because even when they're winning, they're not fun to watch. I'm sorry. It's like I watched the Jaguars all like prime time last year, and then I watched them in the last season. Trevor is great. I like Trevor a lot, but like they just don't have enough dynamic offense around him, and I think Trevor makes do with what he has. But yeah, just the way that they play, I just don't think it's like very great for national TV games. But it's in Baltimore, should be a fairly fair matchup.
Yeah. I think it'll be a fun game nonetheless, but I think Baltimore should take care of business there. Week 10, we got a NFC East matchup. Commanders, Jaden Daniels versus John Harbaugh, Jackson Dart, Cam Scattaboo, and the Giants.
Yeah, divisional rivalry. I like that matchup a lot. Can the Commanders score against the Giants? Commanders offense without Cliff Kingsbury. How's that going to look? That's like a really interesting under the radar headline this year.
Yeah, it'll be fun to watch. Now, this next game is the day before your birthday. Both of our birthdays land on a Friday this year. You're lucky enough that you get to see your favorite Houston Texans take on the Indianapolis Colts. We got another primetime game with Daniel Jones, just like the doctor ordered.
Well, it won't be Daniel Jones. Then he'll probably be injured. So that's one. But I do think it's a divisional rivalry where I do think Colts and Texans matchups are fun. So unlike the Colts versus the Kansas City Chiefs, where do I really want to see a grinded out game where it's 20-17 with Indianapolis and Kansas City? No, not really. But Houston, Indianapolis, it's a divisional rivalry. Usually it's a fun game. So I'm not mad at it.
Yeah, I think it'll be fun. Now, week 12, this is the Thanksgiving games.
Okay.
And there's also a Friday game, so I'll cover the Friday game as well. But early slate is Chicago at Detroit. So Detroit continues their Thanksgiving run. I feel like they've played against each other on Thanksgiving the last 3 years, and it's been amazing. So that's great. The second slate is Philly at Dallas, and
That's
then it
good.
en- yeah, I think that's good. And then to end it off, Cinema, Kansas City at Buffalo, Thanksgiving. Does it get any better?
Kansas City and Buffalo on Thanksgiving. These are some really good Thanksgiving matchups. I mean, I think Dallas and Philadelphia are both going to have their flaws next season, so I think that'll be a fun game. A lot to play for there. Chicago and Detroit. Detroit may get blown out. They haven't had a good track record. Seems like they've regressed on Thanksgiving after getting their first win in a long time a couple of years ago. But Buffalo and Kansas City capping it off on Thanksgiving. Thursday night is killing Sunday night football at this point.
Yeah, honestly, think like Thursday games, they're looking great this year. I mean, you have Mahomes and Allen, you have Caleb Williams and Jared Goff, you have Jalen Hurts and Dak Prescott. Like, script writers, you did great. You did a great schedule for that week. And then the Black Friday game that nobody asked for, we have Denver at Pittsburgh, which honestly, for a Black Friday game, could have been worse. I don't hate it. I actually don't hate that Friday matchup at all.
Yeah, as long as it's not the Dolphins and the Jets, I'm happy. So we've got that like in the past before. So this is definitely a improvement, and I think is Jeff Bezos just like Goodell. Let me pass you a Billy over here, a couple $1 billion, and give me all the good matchups on Amazon Prime. Is that what's going on? Is Jeff Bezos just opening up his wallet and it's like, let me mog Sunday night and Monday night football. Monday night football's kind of been trash where we only have 2 or 3 good games. They double games on Monday night football now, which no one asked for. Just makes it weird because it's one game that's usually terrible, and then they tried to save it with the Manning cast, and then it's kind of just dominating Sunday night football this year too. Like, is it just Jeff Bezos like paying the NFL for the best matchups?
Honestly, yeah, because That's a really great stack right there. And I didn't cover the Wednesday game that's this week as well, but it's going to be Packers and Rams on Netflix on Wednesday. So
Before
you
Thanksgiving?
have, yeah, they have a Wednesday. So there's two Wednesday games this year: Rams and Packers in LA, and then obviously they have the Black Friday game too. So we're gonna have pretty empty 1 o'clock slate that week, and a pretty empty 4 o'clock slate as well. So,
Great.
but all the great games are taken care of, during your work week, which is nice. And then the Rams play on Wednesday, the 25th. They go back and play on the 3rd, the following week on Thursday night because they face the Chiefs. They hoist the Chiefs. Chiefs and Rams, week 13, Thursday Night Football, which also, great game.
Yeah, another good game there. Mahomes, Stafford. Is that in Kansas City?
This is in LA, since SoFi.
Same thing.
Yeah. And then this could be fun as well. Week 14, December 10th, we have Kyler Murray going to New England and what most likely will be a blizzarding snowstorm, some sort of nor'easter, most likely, but Patriots and Vikings.
It's a good matchup. I like it.
Yeah, I dig it as well. And then week 15 is Chargers at Niners, which I'm sorry, Chargers, but that is not a home game. It's at SoFi, but there's going to be a lot of Niners fans in that audience.
Yeah, that's I don't know. That's a
The
weird
Harbaughs,
matchup.
though, you got the Harbaugh matchup. I mean, for Thursday night, I mean, it's interesting. It's not nothing, but of the other games, I think it's less exciting.
Yeah, probably the least exciting game since Browns and Steelers, and I'd honestly probably rather watch the Browns and Steelers over a Chargers game.
Yeah. And then we have this is week 16, so this is the Christmas slate at this point. So let me see if there's any Wednesday games. So Thursday night football that week, which is Christmas Eve, is Houston at Eagles. So Texans and Eagles on prime time. And there's a whole slate for Christmas, which we can cover too. The Houston
Okay.
and Eagles.
That's a
And
weird
then,
matchup.
yeah, I mean, week 16, they're both probably vying for a playoff spot at this point. Houston last year got really hot around that time, so I think it'll be a fun game, but Christmas Eve, I feel like, honestly, maybe just spend time with your family that day. But luckily, we have football on Friday. We have Bears and Packers to start it out on the great, jolly uh, Christmas day. And then 2 o'clock slate. Both of these games on Netflix, by the way. Buffalo at Denver. And then closes it out with Rams Seahawks, which was probably the best game last year when they faced off. Both games, to be honest.
Yeah, no, those are three really good games on Christmas. Buffalo and Denver is a really good game, and then Rams and Seahawks. I mean, those were two of the best regular season primetime games last year. Arguably, the best playoff game was Seahawks and Rams. So yeah, yeah, probably Buffalo and Denver was the best playoff game overall. But like Seahawks and Rams, probably two or three outside of
Yeah,
that, and then Bears Rams.
yeah. It's a good breakdown there. And then this is the June. This is the last day of the year, December 31st, week 17. We have Baltimore at Cincinnati. So Lamar versus Joe Burrow, hopefully.
And for the division, if Burrow
Again,
is healthy or
after
Lamar
the
is healthy.
Bengals start 1-5 and are somehow now 10-5 after winning 10 straight. Honestly, though, Thursday night football, they get an A. They have to get an A. I mean, there's not really a single game here that I can look at and be like, this is going to be a bad matchup. Pittsburgh and Cleveland, it makes sense. Tampa and Dallas, still going to be fun, but there's some great, great Thursday night games here. And the
Yeah.
Thanksgiving slate, perfect on every detail.
Yeah, I really don't think there's a bad matchup here, so I honestly give it an A plus. I think they did the best they could. So shout out to Jeff Bezos. Whatever he gave Roger Goodell, or if he has dirt on Roger Goodell, I don't know if Roger Goodell's Epstein files, and somehow Jeff Bezos got a hold of them, and then got all the good games on Amazon Prime. But so far, compared to Sunday Night Football, this is way better. Sunday Night Football, like I gave a C plus, and I'm giving this one an A plus.
Yeah,
So
this
Monday
is.
night gonna be a tough
Let's see
one.
what. Yeah, Monday nights should be interesting. Definitely giving an A plus to Thursday night. Sunday gets a C still for me. But Monday Night Football, been waiting all day for Monday night, or whatever the saying goes that Carrie Underwood loves to say. It starts off with Broncos at Chiefs, Monday the 14th.
Week one, right out the gate. This feels early for this matchup. Hopefully, Rasheed Rice is not in jail when this game takes place. But yeah, that's a really good matchup. Probably gonna have divisional implications at the end of the year.
Yeah, I would agree. And then we have Cam Scatterboot, Jackson Dart going to SoFi to take on the Rams in week 2.
I like that too. I think that'll be really fun, especially with how good I think the Giants' defense should be. The Rams, and it's Monday Night Football, so they should be competitive. I think, yeah, that's another solid matchup.
All right. And then Eagles at Chicago in week 3. I would give that another check. That's another good game.
Yeah, that's a very Troy Aikman and Joe Buck type of game. That's like that just feels like Monday Night Football for me.
Yeah, I would agree. And then week 4, we have Tua before the cold in the Caesars Dome to take on the Saints and Tyler Shuck. Divisional matchup. This gets another stamp. I give this another thumbs up.
Yeah, I think this game could be fireworks, and I think this will be the game where people finally see Tyler Shuck and are like, "Oh, like we like kind of the Saints were doing their thing," and I felt like what the Saints did at the end of last season flew under the radar. So I think this game people are going to see Tyler Shuck and the Saints. I mean, they took arguably one of your favorite receivers in the draft, and like this is going to be a real team, and I think this will kind of be their coming out party where people are going to start to talk about them like maybe they will win the division this year.
And they got Travis Etienne also. Let's not forget that. So they have a
Yeah.
running game, still have Alvin Kamara, and they got Jordan Tyson plus Chris Olave. This is going to be the coming out party there. Speaking of coming out, Josh Allen, he takes on the Rams on Monday Night Football in Week 5.
Okay. All right. Yeah, Matthew Stafford viewing his younger self and Josh Allen, just a elite talent running away with a terrible franchise. But that's a really good matchup for Monday Night Football. I think that'll be fun. I think that'll be another high scoring game.
So far, that's my favorite matchup on Monday night. So far, Monday night has beaten Sunday night in my standing so far. Week 6 is Jaden Daniels versus the 49ers. So Commanders and 49ers on Monday Night Football.
That is another very Monday Night Football ass matchup, similar to Chicago and Philadelphia.
Yep. We're going to hear a lot of Joe Buck and Troy Aikman talking their talk.
Well, Joe, you see the thing about this play.
Well, it's only going to get worse because Dallas at Philly, Week 7 Monday Night Football.
I think that'll be fun.
Oh, it'll be fun, but Troy Aikman talking about his beloved Cowboys. I like Troy
Compared to
Aikman
Tony
historically.
Romo, Troy Aikman is a saint. I thought Troy Aikman was bad until Tony Romo happened for the past 3 years, and I'm like, anytime I hear Troy Aikman, I'm like,
Breath of fresh air. Yeah, I would agree. Now we enter into November. Week 8, we have Caleb Williams taking on the defending champion Seattle Seahawks. What could also be a very interesting, fun game as well. Also pretty Monday Night Football coded, I would say. But another good matchup for Monday Night Football so far.
yeah, I like that matchup a lot. This is another what could have been if Ben Johnson just took the points once in a while versus the Rams, because I thought this easily could have been the conference championship matchup. So I think this one will be fun too.
This next game, I think, is going to be quietly one of the best games of the year. Buffalo at Minnesota, Monday, November 9th. We remember the Kyler Hail Mary a couple years ago. I believe that was also on Monday Night Football, but
Kirk
Kyler, it's
Cousins.
not quite Kirk Cousins too, but like Josh Allen, Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray hopefully has some sort of renaissance this year. Like he had a great game against Buffalo several years ago. Maybe we see the same. I think this could be a quietly great matchup.
Well, it was the good matchup Kyler had versus Buffalo, and then where were you when Justin Jefferson caught it on 4th and 20 versus the Buffalo Bills when it was Kirk Cousins
Oh
versus the
yeah.
Bills? I'm thinking of when we were
Yeah.
at Grundle's on like it was the same day we went to see Jack Hayes. We're in
Yeah.
Boston. We're watching the game on the phone, and it was Bills and Vikings, and it was the game where like Kirk Cousins just chucked it up and was like Justin Jefferson got to be down there somewhere. Triple coverage. Justin Jefferson
Catches it.
snatches it out of the air. You're like, oh my god, this is like one of the best matchups ever. So you're gonna have like that too. So I definitely think that this is gonna be an electric matchup. Some people will be like Bills Vikings. Like no, if you weren't,
Bills Vikings.
it's like if you know, you know. Last time they played each other, and this is Kyler, and then yeah, Cardinals Bills. I remember that game too. That game was also ridiculous.
One of the greatest regular season games of all time, honestly. But week 10, we have Chargers at Baltimore. What used to be the Harbaugh matchup. Now it's just the Jesse Minter revenge game for the Ravens. But Chargers and Ravens, two teams that should be competitive. Still giving it a thumbs up, but of the other matchups, not as exciting.
Very Monday Night Football coded.
The NFL
Chargers and
knows what product.
Ravens.
They know the product.
Honestly, like for Monday Night Football, like all of these matchups are perfect.
Yeah, I would agree. And then week 11, we're starting to enter into Thanksgiving territory, but Cincinnati at Commanders. So all depends on the health of both of these quarterbacks, but if they're both playing, you get Joe Burrow and Jaden Daniels, so that's going to be fun Monday Night Football. And also another Monday Night Football game.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah, that should be good.
And then we have Carolina at Tampa Monday, week 12.
Divisional rivalry could be important for the standings. They usually play each other tough, so I do think that's another fun Monday Night Football game.
They play close. Week 13, Dallas at Seattle. This game could be a bloodbath.
Mm, yeah, Dallas has a really good offense, though. We'll see how the rookies pan out on defense. I think this should be another really good matchup.
And then we got your favorite, Pittsburgh at Jacksonville.
But this is very fitting for Monday Night Football, though. This is like the types of matchups that are usually on Monday Night Football. So, Trevor versus Aaron, like I think this will be this. This is the type of team that I want to see the Jaguars play on Thursday Night Football. I don't want to see them play a team like the Ravens or the Cowboys. A team like the Steelers, maybe the Texans. Like I feel like that's more where they're kind of in the zone. If you want to show everybody how good the Jaguars are, maybe put them up against the Titans early in the
Yeah.
season.
Yeah, and Titans have no primetime games this upcoming year, which may be for the better. Week 15, we have the Patriots at Kansas City. Another great matchup as well. Um, Also Monday Night Football coded, but if the Patriots are as good as they were last year, if the Chiefs come back like they have, then this should be a great matchup as well.
You know, another hit.
And then New York Giants at Detroit, assuming the heart of Jackson Dart is all good. Cam Scattaboo still has his ankles intact. Then Detroit Lions are coming for their ankles, but also a good matchup, depending on the health, of course. But on paper, great matchup.
Yeah, I think this will be a very ugly game, but it should be competitive. I think last season the Giants were kind of kicking Detroit's ass when they were playing them, though.
Yeah. Yeah, now they have John Harbaugh, too. So there might be a coaching mismatch there, too. And then this game, week 17, this game might be very low scoring, but we have Houston at Green Bay to end the Monday Night Football train.
Yeah, last time they played each other was fun. So yeah, I don't have a problem with this game, but this game is also very Monday Night Football coded. So I felt like for Monday Night Football, like they get an A minus from me. I think like these matchups fit the type of Monday Night Football matchups we've gotten in the past, but it definitely does feel enhanced this year. Things definitely change. Teams that you think are going to be good during the season aren't as good. Other teams are better. So, you know, but I do think like looking at it on paper, Sunday Night Football is definitely the worst. But I, I would honestly put Monday Night Football right there. I gave Thursday Night Football an A. I kind of give Monday Night Football an A minus, but I do think they're right there with each other.
I mean, you have some iconic matchups for Monday Night Football, like Buffalo and LA. That should be a great matchup. I do think. I mean, Buffalo and Minnesota should be a lot of fun. And then ultimately, if all of these matchups stay healthy, Patriots and Chiefs should be a great matchup. Giants and Lions should be a great matchup too. Honestly, I think Atlanta and New Orleans should be a lot of fun. Like, it's a lot of really fun matchups in here. So I like that a lot. Interestingly enough, is we know how the NFL tends to flex. It's time towards the end of the season. If you look at all of Week 18, no schedule is in place at that time. So they're essentially going to build the Week 18 schedule based on what I'm assuming to be what will be the most exciting game at that time.
Yeah, they've been leaving it open, especially for Sunday Night Football. They keep a couple games in mind. Typically, it's going to be for a playoff spot. They want that Sunday Night Football game to be kind of iconic, where this is going to be a team either building momentum going into the playoffs or teams like vying for their division. So it's going to warm you up for the playoffs into that first week of it. So I think that's definitely been a smart strategy for the NFL is just leave that last week open so we can have the best game possible on Sunday Night Football. And honestly, they've all been really interesting matchups. Minnesota and Detroit was kind of a blowout when they faced each other, but other than that, like the past 5, 6 years, Sunday Night Football in Week 18, Week 17, it's definitely been good.
Yeah, and they have it so week 16 and 17, there's 4 games that they can flex at any point, and then all of week 18 is scheduled, but of the week 16 games, they have Tampa at Atlanta, Cincinnati at Indianapolis, Washington at Minnesota, and then Carolina at Pittsburgh.
Not in love with most of those.
Yeah, I think most likely if any of those games are prime time, it's probably going to be either Tampa and Atlanta or Washington and Minnesota, depending on seeding at that point.
Yeah, seating and health for sure.
And then week 17, the flex games are Denver at New England, which could be a primetime game.
Oh, that could
Um,
be for the 1 seed, arguably.
yeah, we have Kansas City at LA Chargers, so divisional game as well. That could be fun.
Could also be for the division and playoff implications there. Maybe a wild card spot.
Yeah. Then we have Rams versus Tampa Bay, so seeding potentially could play a part there.
Division 2 for both those teams.
Yeah. And then Commanders at Jacksonville, which honestly I don't think is going to be a primetime game.
I mean, yeah, I mean, I think that could be fun though. Like Jacksonville could realistically still be in the mix for their division. Um, yeah, the Commanders are kind of just a question mark for me next year, too. And like honestly, a
Yeah.
little bit the Jaguars too. Is like, what are they going to look like without Travis Etienne? Because he was kind of their entire offense last year. So
And the running game is going to be bad. I honestly think I'm not very optimistic on the Jags this year because Travis Etienne's gone, and now they're relying on, um, like I don't even know who their running back core is at that point. I know they had Batum last year that was playing decent for them, but
yeah,
now their
Bajal
running back
Tootin.
core, yeah, Bajal Tootin. They have Chris Rodriguez there, Amir Abdullah, like guys that are not starting running backs. Like the running game should be significantly worse. Unless with this Chris Rodriguez guy is a stud, but
He's
I don't
coming
know. He
from
hasn't proven.
Washington, and he had plenty of opportunities where if he wanted to be the stud, he could have been. But no, he's not the guy for you.
Well, don't quit on LaQuaint Allen Jr. So 7th round pick out of 2025.
Honestly, that's their best shot probably next year. Basil Tootin showed some promise, but like I don't know. They might have to make a trade. Maybe they're a team that trades for James Conner next year. That would make sense for them.
Or James Conner, or maybe Alvin Kamara. If Alvin Kamara doesn't want to be the backup, so that
That
could be
would make
fun.
sense. You kind of basically trade Travis Etienne for Alvin Kamara. Um, Anything else on that, or do you want to go over the teams that didn't get a primetime game? Teams kind of just standing in the corner with their hands in their pocket.
So I have the international games in front of me too. We've covered
Right.
some of them, but I can glaze through them real quickly. We already covered San Francisco at LA. That's the first real Thursday night game in Australia, and then all these games are going to be at 9:30 a.m. Eastern time. But week 3 they have Ravens at Dallas in Brazil.
That's a fun game.
Yeah, we got Colts at Commanders in London in week 4,
That,
which I think is
that
a
that's the most
that's fun.
international matchup I've ever heard in my life. Commanders and Colts.
Yeah.
We're not sending our best. They're not sending their best. We're not sending our best.
It's going to be in London, and then week 5 they stay in London. Eagles at Jags. So Jags continue their London domination, which is another
That's a
very
good.
international
That's a
coded.
yeah. No, the NFL is honestly hitting the nail on the head for like Thursday night and Monday night football and the international matchups. Like they get it.
And then Jags stay in London again in week 6. They face the Texans. They just are like, you know what? Keep them in London.
Oh no, you can't have a divisional game. You can't have a game that could potentially decide the division in London when the Jags have already been there for a week. That's not fair.
They did that
That's not
last year,
fair.
though, and the Jags lost that game.
To Houston?
I believe so. I don't know if it was Houston, but I think they've played 2 international games back to back, but I think one of those games was a divisional game, and they lost that game. But you can fact check me on that because I'm not sure.
I'll pull it up.
Week 7. Week 7, though, this could actually be a good international game. They have Steelers at the Saints. This is going to be in Paris, France.
That's another fun international matchup. I feel like Pittsburgh, Germany makes sense. I feel like there's a little bit of a symbiote there.
Yeah. Then the last 3, we got Cincinnati and Atlanta. This is going to be in Madrid, week 9.
Cincinnati and Atlanta. I kind of see the vision.
A little bit. This one makes sense to me. We have week 10 Patriots at Detroit in Munich, Germany. For some reason, both of those teams kind of fit the Germany energy, I feel like. I think they kind of nailed it there.
Yeah. I feel like there's going to be a lot. It's in Germany.
Munich.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of beers before consumed before that game. It was like people think Americans go hard and we're like addicted to substances, but then you go to Europe and it's a whole new world. You're like, oh, okay. So that's like the perfect like get hammered and get rowdy game. Like Patriots and Lions. That's like a Nickelback concert. That's like Creed coming on at the bar at night. That's just a good time.
Yeah. And then the last game is Minnesota at San Francisco in Mexico City, which I believe is a primetime game. I'll double check that, but looks like that'll
Yeah, I
be
think
international as well.
that was a Sunday night or Thursday night game.
Yeah, that's what it looks like.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's another good game as well as Rams in San Francisco. That was the Australia one.
Yeah, that's what starts the season. That's in Australia, and then week 11 is Minnesota at San Francisco and Mexico City.
Yeah, that should be good. Yeah, honestly, the international matchups are pretty good this year. I feel like usually they're sending like Cleveland overseas.
And it looks like this is one of the Sunday night games. It looks like in this case. So honestly, international, I'm giving it a B because I feel like international games are usually pretty bad. That's when you're seeing like Jets versus Dolphins, or you're seeing like Titans versus the Saints last year, like just games that nobody cares about. But there's games here that I'm like actually interested to tune in for. Patriots and Lions would be fun. I think Cincy and Atlanta could be fun. We have Ravens and Cowboys that should be fun. So I see the vision. I think if they're going to make international games a part of the NFL, I like that they have some on prime time and then some that are early slate games. So honestly, yeah, I like what they did here. I'll give it a B.
Yeah, no, I would give this one A minus here as well. I definitely think this one is good. I think they had a lot of really good matchups. Typically, you kind of see some weaker ones in the international scene there. So I think, yeah, this is also another really solid slate. And really, like, out of all the primetime and international games, Sunday night has suffered the most. But I do think, like, the NFL like partnering with Amazon. They're trying to make them happy, and then with the international games, they're starting to like put together better games. So if you want to actually go out there, have an international audience, what should you do? You should actually go out there and put forth some actually good games that could be fun, and then you'll probably gain more fans that way. So it does seem like they're putting a little bit more effort into it.
Yeah, I agree. And I also think like having the international games also on prime time, I feel like we've seen Mexico City in the past, but we've never really seen like, week 11 is going to be or week win, I mean, it's going to be in Australia. So you can see some if they can sprinkle in some of these international games that aren't at 9:30 in the morning Eastern time. The West Coast people have to wake up at 6:30 in the morning for it. Like that's where I think you're going to see more of that audience kind of trickle in.
Yeah, but I do think that is pretty solid. So again, I would give this a B plus for the international games. I think those are well done. I think Thursday night football should definitely get an A minus for Monday night football. I think they did exactly what they needed to there, and then Sunday night just not it this year. Gets a C plus from me, C from you. So I do think it's fair to go Thursday, Monday, and then Sunday at the bottom as far as excitement, and then just more excitement for the growth of the NFL internationally, where it seems like they're actually trying a little bit harder this year. And you know the best part about international games? We get
What?
to hear Rich Eisen call NFL games.
Which is legendary. And that's the one bright spot of international games. Having to get up early, it sucks, but Rich Eisen is an icon, so we love him. As far as the grades, A plus for Thursday night, A minus to maybe a B plus for um, Monday night games, and then I give it a C for Sunday night games. And then international, I'll give it a B for it.
A B, yeah. I did think for international though, doesn't it feel like they've tried harder this year? Where sometimes I felt like they've sent like the Jets or Cleveland overseas, and you're like, okay, are we trying to get new fans for the NFL or not? Like, what's
It felt
like?
like for most of their time, like international games were just essentially the worst of the worst product that they didn't want to have on Red Zone, so they pushed them overseas. But now it's like, whether it's having Lamar there, you're going to have Drake May, you're going to have Jared Goff there, you're going to have Aaron Rodgers, you're going to have Joe Burrow. Like you have your stars going there rather than seeing like Tyrod Taylor and the Jets or seeing, some of those more pathetic Jaguars teams in the past coming there. You actually have teams that build your legacy here in America, but also overseas. They can showcase that to France and Spain and Germany and all those other countries.
Yeah. So I definitely think the NFL is focusing more on that, and I think the NFL has entertained the idea of adding more games to the season, and the extra games would be dedicated to international games. I know Dubai has been in the conversation as well. Not sure if we would do that if the current situation right now holds, but definitely in the future, they might try and do some games in Dubai, and then they're talking about potentially if they added another game to the season, adding another bye week for NFL teams. So I do think that is somewhere where the NFL would bring in more profit, and I think they're definitely interested in lengthening the season. because they like can take a pretty big chunk away from the NBA. Like they essentially big broed the NBA and kicked them off of Christmas, where that was something that used to be iconic. We used to get really fun NBA commercials to advertise the Christmas games. Now it's kind of irrelevant, I feel like. And take over Christmas. Now we're on Netflix, Peacock, Amazon as well. We're adding more international games. So if they add another game to the season, and maybe we have a season where we have 20 international games, and I do think that is the part of Bad Bunny that people are kind of overlooking is just the NFL trying to draw more eyes to the Super Bowl from an international um, perspective. So I think that was like the business reason for that. It's like Bad Bunny's also the most popular artist in the world, arguably, right now.
Yeah, 100%. I honestly don't hate the international exposure. I think it's fun for those other countries to witness it for them. And if they're going to actually push good games there, then I think the NFL will expand. Because unlike every other sport, baseball has always been an international sport. That's why you see players like Ichiro and Hideo Nomo, a lot of Dominicans there. And then the NBA, they're international, especially now with Wemby and SGA and Joker. But the NFL has always been kind of Americanized. That's kind of been mostly, places like Texas and California that are hubs there. There's not really a lot of international players coming to America to play football. And I think that's what they're trying to change. And I think doing what they're doing now with the games is going to help them do that.
Well, it's not only that, it's more merchandise sold as well. More international games in different countries. You have exclusive parties there that you're making monies from, like busing fans, tourist packages that you can sell. You're making those countries some money, and then you're also selling more NFL jerseys. Where in Australia, people want to buy merch there to represent the team, so you have more of an international presence. So it's just a massive like trickle down business model for the NFL. So I feel like it makes a lot of sense. And I wouldn't be surprised if like from in like a decade from now we had a team in South America at some point. If like the Mexico City games go well and they add like some extra buys there, or we see maybe some expanded NFL like minor leagues. Maybe we have them in Europe instead of doing like whatever they're doing with like the UFL right now.
Yeah, that could be fun. It's like instead of being in random towns in America, they just have like England, which I feel like the UK loves football, so that would make sense. And they have these massive stadiums that can fit soccer populations of 150 plus people, 150,000. So if they can successfully market the NFL, they still have all these massive soccer stadiums and cricket stadiums that are already there for them. So they don't even need to make new stadiums for these teams either.
Yeah, they already have the stadiums there, and I think it's also strategic because it's added as an Olympic sport now, so getting more interest there. We had like the Eagles draft a player from Nigeria this year. They've done that a couple times there. So you're also like bringing in more international talent. But yeah, so I think like their strategy so far has been interesting. So if we get another game to the season, it would probably add 2 more weeks to the year because each team would get another bye week, and then maybe I would say start the season a week earlier, extend it a week further, and then we get the NFL ending with the holiday the next day, and you have President's Day the day after.
Which is what it should be
Yeah.
at this point. But that is our schedule. So we'll end up covering the east, the west, the north, the south at one point. But looking at the primetime games, it looks like we're positioned well. It gets me excited for this upcoming NFL season. Now that we've been removed for the last 5 months, now I'm ready for football again. I'm like, okay, let's run it back. I'm excited to waste all of my Sundays watching the games. So I'm here for it.
Yeah, no, this definitely like that Thunder and Spurs game, like it woke up like that kid in me for sports again. It's like it like gave me that energy, it gave me that motivation where like the first like couple rounds of the NBA playoffs, we've had a good game here or there and it's been fun. Like it's cool, but like that game I was like Oh my god. This is why I love the NBA. And then you had a couple of those games like Rams versus Bears in the playoffs last year. Probably my favorite game of the playoffs last year was Buffalo at Denver. And it was like running around the house for that game because it was so ridiculous. But like, yeah, like these matchups definitely get me excited. So yeah, I echo that sentiment. Like it's like okay, like the NFL, like we're almost into June. I know, like be gone for 2 weeks in like June and July, and then be back, and then we only have about 5 6 weeks until the NFL season kicks off. Like it's gonna be here a lot sooner than people think.
Yeah. Honestly, like we're entering June already. We start to see like preseason right around August. That's when training camp starts to come around. So it comes quick. Now it's kind of when people can start to do their research for fantasy football as well. If you want to get into that, so um, yeah, I'm excited. We got a couple more weeks, and then it's really gonna start to pick up.
Yeah, I don't know about you, but it seems like ever since like just this is just like as a timestamp, but ever since like the situation in like the Middle East started, time has flown by, but it also feels like that started a really long time ago, like almost like a year or two ago. Like it's been really weird. Like April and like the first few weeks like have kind of just flown by for me where it doesn't even seem like it's been that long. And like I can't believe we're almost halfway through the year already. But it also seems like that whole like situation started so long ago too.
Yeah, like time doesn't exist at this point with what we're seeing right now.
It's like they sped
But
up the timeline.
yeah, I mean, it kind of reminds me of like when COVID, when that happened. Just all these months just zoom by at this point. But soon enough, it's going to be September. The leaves are going to start to change again, and we're going to be watching football on our couches every Sunday, glued to our couches, ignoring our girlfriends. So I'm excited for it.
Yeah, but great about hour of coverage of the NBA playoffs and a hour of NFL talk got me really excited for the season. So after all of that, to wrap it up, what have you been watching and or listening to this weekend? I heard there was a couple small albums came out this weekend.
Oh yeah, Iceman. Yeah, Iceman came out. Might as well talk about that. I listened to that. We had a listening party. My friend Jake came to town. You know him. And yeah, Drake released 3 albums. He released Maid of Honor, Habibati, and Iceman. Which Iceman he did like big promotions for. He had like a giant block of ice that he brought throughout Toronto, and then released 3 albums. Gets him out of his deal with Universal. So I know you're not a big Drake fan, so I won't talk too deeply on it. But
Is
one of
that
the
why he
albums is
dropped
kind
three?
of
Just to get out of his
yeah,
record deal?
yeah. So gets him out of his deal. Now he's independent, so we'll see if he ends up signing somewhere else. But um, Habiba T is definitely for the girlies, I would say. Drake usually when he makes a rap album, there's going to be hits, there's going to be songs for the girls, and then there's going to be his version of rap, whether you like it or not. And Habibity is definitely for the girls. So all the ratchet girls that you see at the club, they're probably going to be bumping that album. Maid of Honor is for the club hits. There's definitely more. You'll see like Janice, Shut the Fuck Up is going to be big on there. There's going to be like Ho Phase, Cheetah Print, those songs you'll hear at the club. And then Iceman is kind of his rap album. And that's when you see like the Make Them Praise, some of the other songs there. That's when he's actually truly rapping. So as far as albums wise, I've enjoyed the listen so far. Um, there's been a lot of hate online. It's been kind of crushed online. A lot of reviewers have kind of hated it. Um, People don't really like his singing all too much, which I can understand. But listen to that. We had a good listening party. We popped some gummies. Went to a Tex AZ grill before. Had a good time, but good listening overall. I feel like a lot of rap albums this year haven't really stuck. Like he had Baby Keem dropped an album that kind of faded. Kanye dropped Bully. Stuck around for a little bit, but kind of faded. ASAP Rocky released an album that faded. So I'm interested to see if Iceman has that same amount. Drake usually kind of runs the summer when he releases an album, at least charts wise. So with how the 2026 albums have gone, I'm just curious if it's gonna stick because so far none of the rap albums really have.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people just play Drake no matter what, though. Like when his album comes up, no matter if it's like good or bad. And he's definitely released both. But it like Drake just has so much marketing power behind him. Where I'm looking around and you literally have Barstool, ESPN, every single sports show talking about him. Like Shannon Sharp is talking about his show. It's like, can you believe that Drake dissed LeBron? I'm like, this is like the fakest beef ever. It's like I feel like Drake and LeBron are still probably cool. Like he doesn't really care that much that he went to a Kendrick concert, even though he's suing someone for a diss track. But I do think like with Drake, like he always does numbers no matter the quality of his music when he drops it.
Yeah, I would agree. I feel like honestly, Nevermind. It's probably his worst album. That still went platinum. That was still number one. Um, I think this is one of his better albums of late. Like for me, I consider myself a Drake fan, but I also completely understand why somebody doesn't like him because he's got some songs in there that are just gay, just feminine, just soy boy, femboy, shit that you wear a fucking maid outfit for your boyfriend for.
Which
Um,
LeBron did at a Diddy party.
which makes sense why they're friends. So,
Yeah.
but then again, like then he also has songs like Hotline Bling that are like they're corny and you maybe don't like them on the surface, but then you hear it at the club, you're like, all right, we're having a good time now. You know, there's other songs he's got like um, just hold on, we're going home. Like he's got some hits that are like, all right, I can respect him there. Rapping wise, yeah, this album doesn't necessarily have like hardcore Drake bars, but he's got 43 songs that he released on Friday, so there's a lot to digest. I've enjoyed Iceman. The other albums I haven't really checked too much in on as much, but um, for what he's released of late, I think Iceman is it's probably his best album since probably Scorpion, but it doesn't necessarily say too much because I know his quality has definitely regressed the last decade.
I saw like a lot of people talking about like he seemed like he's continuing the beef or like continuing to throw shots at Kendrick. He had a bar about like Dr. Dre in there as well. On Iceman, do you think it makes sense or does it come off as him kind of as a sore loser? Because like he's suing Universal right now, so it'd be weird that he's throwing shots again if he's going to be in the middle of a lawsuit. Do you think that's
Well, I
fair,
think
or
as
do you think it's like just normal
I
kind
don't
of rap?
I think it's normal rap. Like I think he's just speaking his perspective. It doesn't come off. Some people take it that way, but I don't see it as him whining about it as much. I think it's more like the universal stuff. If I'm not mistaken, I don't know too much about the lawsuit, but I think it's based on them suppressing his views. And then the lawsuit, like the jabs that he makes at Kendrick, are more or less like more about the social commentary of rap, less about Kendrick. I feel like I don't think it's him reigniting the beef. I think it's more him just kind of speaking his perspective because I think even if you're a Drake fan, he definitely lost that beef pretty embarrassingly. Um, but this is him like speaking since like post beef. This is where he's at, and it's kind of like a lot of the people that he helped brought up that turned against him in the beef. It's kind of more like that. People that kind of wronged him in that time, like the people like Rick Ross, for example, who had no business being a part of the beef at all. Because who the fuck talks about Rick Ross?
Yeah. So did you say it's kind of like one of those albums where it's like his fans are gonna love it? Like you might check back in on it, and if you don't like Drake already, you're probably not gonna listen to this and change your mind.
Yes, 100. If you're a Drake fan, you like it. If you're not a Drake fan, you don't like it. And I don't. I wouldn't recommend it to you because I don't think I uh, like the kind of music that Drake makes, and knowing the music that you listen to, it makes perfect sense why you don't like Drake because he's an acquired taste. Is the only thing I can say. You might like some of his hits, but other than that, I don't think you're going to be bumping, a lot of his music. It's just a little too feminine.
The thing with like Drake too is like he sings like we did like Hotline Bling at karaoke, and I was like, you know, feeling pretty good. And I'm not like a Drake fan, but like I knew every word of that song without knowing I knew every word of that song. It's like that
Yeah,
just comes with working at a gym though.
yeah, for sure. But that's what I've been listening to of late. What have you been listening to, watching to, consuming?
Yeah, so I watched the new Predator movie this weekend. This was Predator Badlands that came out last year. Like Predator movies, like I can take it or leave it. Like it's a monster movie. It's a fun action adventure, so it's definitely a good time. I heard this one was kind of just like Marvel esque, where it felt like similar to a Marvel movie. So I wasn't really in a rush to watch it, like get out to theaters and see it. But finally sat down on Hulu and popped it on. And honestly, I definitely see why people would say like, "Hey, this is a Marvel movie." You have like the quirky like side character, and you have like the cute kind of creature like in this movie, like similar to Groot, Rogu, in the Mandalorian. So you're like, okay, you check all the boxes there. But as far as the story for this in the world, it definitely felt more like a Phase One, Phase Two Marvel movie where there's actually some really good visuals, and it's a overall a fun popcorn movie where maybe I would consider watching this movie again, like for a campy kind of cliche type movie. I definitely think Predator Badlands is a fun watch, and you're not going to be too terribly disappointed when you watch it. I think like people's main criticism about it was kind of the beta Predator, but then it's like even if it is like a beta or a weaker Predator, it's still better than most other creatures out there. And then they set it up for a sequel at the end of it. It's in the like same universe as the new Alien movie, so I definitely think they're looking to do a crossover again. So overall, I thought like visually definitely hit the marks there. Some interesting combat scenes. The only thing is like my problem with like these movies and like the Marvel type movies is there's just in some of the one-on-one combat scenes with the like protagonists, there seems like there's no sense of urgency, and there just wasn't that quite grittiness in the combat scenes. The grittiness really just comes from the environment of the planet that they're on and kind of the different like plants that attack them instead of the like actual like other creatures in those fights, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I've seen the original Predator, and I know like those are kind of more action. I think of those as like action films mostly. Is this one more like when I think about Predator historically, I think of it as an action film. Does this still have that action film feel to it, or do you think it kind of moves more towards like the I don't know family friendly type atmosphere of it?
There's definitely some dark scenes in this movie, like spoiler alert, like at the beginning of the movie, he watches his dad behead his brother in front of him. So there's like
No.
some like pretty good like intense like character building moments there. So this is like a family friendly movie that like definitely pushes the boundaries a little bit more than a Marvel movie would, where it kind of feels a little bit more like DC. And there's some horror elements in it as well. Like my only problem is like they kind of like it's a little bit cliche with like the couple side characters there. And then also like we have to kill someone in your family to build character development. It's like okay, yeah, we get it there. And then just like the one-on-one combat, like it just felt like there wasn't as much like intensity where it wasn't too interesting to watch when it was just like him versus another predator like kind of at the end of the movie, and the main fights like just didn't have that scale you're looking for from a predator movie, but it's mostly like the kind of feel vibe from it. You definitely get more of a grittier feel for like a family friendly movie.
Do you think that if they released another one that you would go to the theaters for it this time, like knowing what you know now, or is it still just kind of more of like a pop on Hulu on a random Friday night sort of thing?
Yeah, if I saw this in theaters, I don't think I'd be too mad. I would probably still wait for the public reaction for like what the fan score of it was, though. I'd probably still wait a week or two. I wouldn't be rushing out week one to see it.
See, Badlands actually, of all the Predator movies, it has the highest audience score. of all of them. And Rotten Tomatoes, like it's one of the higher rated ones. And I feel like even the original Predator, um, the audience score was very high for it, but the rest of them are kind of middle of the road. But this one has good reviews, so this makes me think like I haven't seen the Predator trilogy as much, um, but if it's good, like this is, I feel like box office movies like this can be fun. So maybe if they can actually keep that momentum, and then there's an Alien versus Predator again, then maybe they come back around.
Yeah, and I am someone where like I'm not too tough to please. Like my favorite like guilty pleasure movies are like the new Godzilla and King Kong movies. Like I actually like get a
Which
pretty
was
good
sick.
kick out of those. So like it's kind of on the same level as that if I had to compare it to something. So if we did get like a Alien versus Predator movie, which it looks like they're setting up because they have like the same company and they've released like two movies within like the past 2 years, like one Alien movie, one Predator movie. So I do think they are going to be setting it up for another like Predator versus Alien. I don't know if that's confirmed, but I wouldn't be mad at that because people don't really love the other Alien versus Predator movies. Like, you know, you're definitely not there for the writing or plot, but even then, there's still more to be had with those. So I do think we're due for a good modern Alien and Predator take.
Yeah, I agree. I think the last one came out like 20 years ago at this point. And I honestly think Alien movies are historically better. The first one's amazing, second one's good, and then the rest of them kind of fizzle out. But if they can bring this back, especially because they already have King Kong versus Godzilla now that are continuously rotating, then I feel
Another
like
one
maybe
coming
this
out
can bring
next
people
year of
back.
those.
Really? They got
Yeah,
Godzilla. I think Mothra's going to be in the next one,
because Mothra
if I'm not
was
mistaken.
in the one that came out in 2017, Godzilla King of the Monsters.
Oh, okay.
That
Yeah,
was
I
the one
saw
with
the
Kyle
first
Chandler.
Godzilla. Okay. Yeah, I saw the first Godzilla, the one with Brian, well, kind of Bryan Cranston, and then I saw King Kong versus Godzilla, the first one, and then King Kong Skull Island. So they're like that universe. I've seen those, and they're all fun. Like I think King Kong versus Godzilla are great watches, especially with a few gummies and maybe a cold one. Like it's an awesome watch.
Yeah, it's like especially with like those are coming out like in the prime of like Marvel, and then DC was trying to build a universe. So like people who didn't like love those movies kind of get franchise fatigue. But like if you go back and watch those compared to like the new movies coming out, like they do what they're supposed to, which is they're a fun movie. Sure, is it a little bit campy? Yes, but like I think like Kong Skull Island, as far as like monster movies, like you have John Goodman in that movie, like Tom Hiddleston. Like overall, I think that movie's fun. The 2014 Godzilla movie, like when he grabs the monster at the end of it, has the nuclear
So
breath and
sick.
beheads him. Like that was so sick. And I saw that movie in IMAX 3D. I was like
Same.
13 when it came out. It's like my mind was blown when I saw that. So like I feel like those movies like know exactly what they are, and that's kind of why they're good. We're gonna make one of these every 5 years, make a couple 100 million, and then we also have like the other Godzilla movies coming out right now. The like one in Japanese, the minus one
Yeah,
is getting a sequel.
they got a sequel for that. That's cool. I saw Godzilla, the first one, the 2014 one, with my friend Andrew, Devin, I think Jake, and then our friend Carter, who is like not a part of the group anymore. But we all went to we. This is back when we lived in Concord. 'Cause we were like eighth graders at the time. We walked to Walmart, where we got dropped off at Walmart. We all dispersed to get our candy. I get my usual peanut butter M and M's or Kit Kats or whatever I want. Devin gets his Sour Patch Kids. Andrew gets his ice cream, like dibs or whatever he gets. Jake gets his candy. Our friend Carter comes back with a box of Cheerios. That was the candy that he selected for that Godzilla movie. Just a big old box of Cheerios, Honey Nut Cheerios to be exact. And we have nothing to bring it in because we just have our pockets. So we pack it in this Apple bag because somebody had bought like an iPad a couple of days ago. It was in their car. So we sneak it in. Carter has his bag on, and it's the Apple bag. And you see like Kit Kats in the corner. You see like the Hershey's on the side. You see the whatever. On the very back of it, you just see the fucking the B from the Cheerios because he just packs fucking Cheerios to watch Godzilla. And that part, like, that's the legacy that that movie left. Outside of that giant scene that everyone thought was insanely cool, and it is super cool. I just remember Carter getting Cheerios and thinking, what the fuck is wrong with this guy?
Yeah. I mean, Aaron Taylor Johnson is fun in that movie. That was Elizabeth Olsen before she was like really popular in Marvel. But I do remember, like, because that was Bryan Cranston right after Breaking Bad finished. So everyone's like, dude, they got the guy from Breaking Bad. And then after the first 20 minutes, everyone's like, what the? He died?
They just stopped arguing. Yeah, he dies
Yeah.
immediately. Such a fake cameo. Yeah, but that's
Did
great.
you watch the one from 1998 with Matthew Broderick?
I have not. Is it good?
That one is cursed. If you want
In a
like
good
a
way?
really funny bad movie, yeah, he's the guy who played like the live action Inspector Gadget.
Oh,
So he's like in those movies, but the 19 if you look up like the image from that Godzilla, like he just looks like a lizard. He looks like the T-Rex from Jurassic Park. He doesn't even look like Godzilla.
oh God. Yeah, this looks awful. Yeah,
Yeah.
it just looks like a haunted Jurassic Park.
Yeah, this one right here. Yeah, this is Matthew Broderick, but this
You have
is
Ferris Bueller doing it.
yeah. If you just want a really cursed Godzilla movie, this one is definitely a weird time. It's one of those movies that you watch and you're like, this is kind of off-putting.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, it'll be interesting to watch. Yeah, but I covered. So we covered the NBA playoffs, Western and Eastern Conference Finals, all things NFL primetime schedules, what we've been watching. Make sure to tune in next Monday when we're live again to cover our next division that we'll plan to cover in depth, the latest in the NBA playoffs. Most importantly of all,